and our nation in the year ahead. Happy New Year. I'm Albert Mohler.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas. Happy 2025, Charles. Thanks for being with us.
And a happy new year to you, Dan Proft. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah, it's good to have you back in. I know you sat in with John Anthony over the holidays as well. So
yeah,
keeping your skills sharp.
Yes. Well, you know, I just feel such, quite frankly, Dan, I feel an obligation to you, my man. Because you were always there when I was reporting in order to give me a different perspective on the news that we normally didn't hear in Chicago, and we don't hear enough today. But you were always there, even though you'd been up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing this show or whatever, but you would be there for me when I would call in the middle of the day. You'd come down to the lobby and do an interview with me. And I remember that. And, this is payback, my man.
It kept me out of the gin mills, so I appreciate it. Don't feel obligated, please. No, I can't live up to obligation.
Well,
Happy New Year as well to all of our listeners, of course. And unfortunately, we're compelled to start the new year on this first installment of the Morning Answer, as pre-2025. We're compelled to start with this massacre that happened in New Orleans in the early morning hours on New Year's Day, where a suspected terrorist mowed down 15 people that he murdered, and another 35, at last report I saw, were injured. A horrific, apparent terrorist attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day, and that was twinned with another suspicious event. They're not calling it a terrorist attack yet, but it was a purposeful event, and that was the cyber truck that blew up in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas that had a bunch of explosives in the back of the truck, and that was, and the driver of the truck was in the truck, so it had all the sort of earmarks of a suicide bombing outside of Trump Hotel. We don't know if the two are connected, but let's take them in turn. First, on New Orleans. And again, 2025 is very reminiscent of 2024, at least as it pertains to the FBI. In the immediate aftermath of the horror in New Orleans, you had the mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, LaToya Cantrell, I believe is her name, saying one thing, and the FBI saying another.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
So first, Mayor Cantrell, we had a terrorist attack, and then the FBI representative right after her saying this was not a terrorist event. Now, the FBI later clarified their understanding of what transpired on New Year's Day in New Orleans, saying, once they took judicial notice of the ISIS flag that was apparently found in the truck, or maybe flying on the truck, while this individual was carrying out this attack, in addition to videos online that speak to his radicalization. Now it is a terrorist attack, ISIS inspired, maybe ISIS directed, because one of the many questions we have is who else was involved. The reporting is that there were other people who rented the same Airbnb with this guy who was killed by police at the scene. And we don't know who they are. And so there's a belief that there was more than just the guy who drove that truck with the explosives and the AK in the cab of the truck, more than just that guy involved. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now, the other major question, how did this guy, who served the better part of 15 years, we understand, in the military, both active duty and reserves, he was deployed to Afghanistan in 2009-2010 as an IT specialist. He posted this video 4 years ago on YouTube that was sort of him introducing himself to for this real estate business he was in. He was a real estate broker, this 42-year-old from Houston. So how does a guy from who spent that much time in the military, who was proud of his military service, who was pitching his wares as a local real estate agent 4 years ago, go from that to what he did on January 1st, on New Year's Day in New Orleans? It's, how did he get radicalized?
But don't these people who are terrorists, don't they sort of go to sleep? I mean, they have covers. He wants to be seen as just the regular guy who's a real estate agent. If you're a terrorist and you plan to do something at some point,
I mean, was he a sleeper agent? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a possibility. I mean, another possibility is that things were going well, and then things were not going well for him. Twice divorced, in debt, living in a rundown trailer park in Houston, not far from a mosque, and maybe he turns to religion and starts to hate, I don't know, just sort of project onto others his misfortune, and become susceptible to radicalization. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, this was him. I mean, this is a guy 4 years ago talking about him being a real estate agent you can trust. This is the guy 4 years removed from doing what he did on New Year's Day.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm Shamsuddin Jabbar, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead at the Midas Group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hitch. So I've taken those skills and applied them to my career as a real estate agent, where I feel like what really sets me apart from other agents is my ability to be able to, one, be a fierce negotiator. So not only do I brilliantly market your property to make sure it gets sold as quickly as possible or gets leased as quickly as possible, but I'm also going to take every ounce of energy and putting it into negotiating for you and for your property to get the best deal that you can possibly get for it. So Once we get to the closing table, all the I's are going to be dotted, all the T's are going to be crossed, everything's going to go off without a hitch, and that is my word that I'm giving to you as your real estate agent. So if that's the type of agent...
I mean, that's the pitch you've heard from every real estate agent everywhere. It's positively pedestrian, and yet 4 years later, he did what he did.
I mean, the seeds had to be somewhere, but can I back up just about a couple of minutes? The fact that the FBI stated that they didn't know if this was a terrorist attack, keep in mind that FBI statement was made some 11 hours after, 10 to 11 hours after the actual incident where the ISIS flag had already been seen. They had to have already done some investigation into who this person was. They had to know who he was because he was in a rented truck, and they could easily trace that back to him.
Quick social media search for these videos that he posted, apparently right before he committed the attack, praising ISIS.
Right. So how does the FBI disassociate this guy from terrorism at that point? Keep in mind, this is the same FBI that has raised a lot of questions about its doings over the past 4 years, and you don't trust this guy. I also immediately began to think about Butler, Pennsylvania, and how little we know about the shooter at Butler at this point. And they're keeping information away from us. And were they planning to do something like this with this? And to be honest with you, Dan, I don't trust him at all.
Well, I don't either. I don't know how you can, because, as you say, the things that we knew, they knew, and they almost certainly knew before we did. But it seems to me their initial posture, much like the D.C. press corps, is always to obfuscate in the direction of their political interests until and unless they are unable to. That they will tell you the truth, or they will acknowledge what is true only as a last resort.
Right.
And one of the things in the terrorist attacks, much like school shootings, is, if it's somebody that is otherwise real or perceived to be a political ally of ours, we want to run interference for them. And I don't mean this specific individual, but I mean the profile, right? Because this is identitarian politics. So this is a person of color. This is a Muslim. We don't want to advance the idea that there is such a thing as a radical Islamist terrorist. So let's say that an event occurred and we're exploring it, and maybe we can muddle the issue to the extent of confusing the public about what exactly happened and why it happened. I mean, it's very much like the D.C. press corps. They're reporting it, just as you say, Charles, hours after this. 10 killed, 30 injured as truck crashes into New Orleans.
Yeah.
Your New Orleans NYE crowd, USA Today. New Orleans tragedy. Truck plows into crowd celebrating New Year on Bourbon Street. Truck plows into crowd in New Orleans in deadly quote-unquote terrorist attack. That's as close as you got to honest reporting, and that was from France 24. We had to go across the pond for that. Maybe they're getting a little sick of the same in France. They're willing to be a little bit more honest than even our press corps, which is really a statement. But, it's always, if it's not somebody that posted "I love Trump" on their social media, on one of their social media accounts, then it's going to be inanimate objects, or it's going to be generic descriptions of what occurred without ascribing any blame to an actual human being.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as horrible as what you're saying is, unfortunately, it's true. It's true how the FBI and the establishment, well, the FBI and the mainstream media handles this kind of information, troubling as it is. I mean, the entire country right now is holding its breath, wondering what the extent of this really is. Were there other people involved with this guy?
Yeah.
And apparently there were. Apparently there's video of people planting IEDs along Bourbon Street or in the French Quarter prior to these explosions. At least that's some of the reporting that that I'm hearing, that there are people involved, other people involved. And then the backdrop of this, of course, is the fact that we have 10, 20 million people in the country. We don't know who they are. I mean, at some point, there's going to have to be some nexus reported between.
Right. This guy was a U.S. citizen, but we don't know the other parties involved, and it just speaks to the larger issue of knowing who's in your country, particularly because we do know that there are names on the terror watch list who did enter this country illegally over the last 4 years.
Yeah,
we do know that.
And what about the people who weren't on the terror watch list who entered this country, who have terrorist designs on what they're going to do after they get here? I don't think people fully comprehend how much the Biden administration has screwed up this country's foreign policy, and coupled with what's going on at the border. I mean, we have made so many enemies around the world over the past 4 years that we didn't have prior to Joe Biden's inauguration.
There's a couple more aspects of this we want to get to, and we'll do that. Take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, after we check the news with Mike.
Dan, good morning. 5:33 is our time here in Chicago. President Biden says a man who drove through a crowded Bourbon Street gathering in New Orleans had posted videos on social media claiming to be inspired by ISIS.
Attack. He posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
FBI spokesperson Althea Duncan saying at a news conference the suspect, identified as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas that also served in the Army. Meantime, officials in New Orleans say security barriers that would have protected crowds on Bourbon Street had been removed before Wednesday's attack. The barriers, called ballards, were removed because they were malfunctioning.
The New Orleans Police Department, of course, deemed them inefficient because they did not operate the way that they were intended to do.
The mayor there saying the bollards were being replaced ahead of the city hosting the Super Bowl in February. Shock and dismay in the small country of Montenegro after a gunman fatally shot 12 people, including 2 children, in a western town before killing himself. Fireworks mortars and camp fuel canisters were found stuffed in the back of the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside President-elect Donald Trump's Las Vegas hotel early on Wednesday. The blast killed a suspect inside the vehicle. At least 10 are recovering after a shooting last night in New York. It happened in Queens in the Jamaican neighborhood. 10 people are known to have been shot. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi saying he remains committed to shutting down the illegal fireworks trade once and for all.
We're angry, frustrated, and deeply saddened at this unnecessary loss of life and suffering. It's a tragic way to start off the new year. What should have been a night of joy and celebration has instead become one of sorrow and heartbreak for our community.
A massive explosion caused by what appear to be illegal fireworks killed 2 and injured several others. Chicago police are increasing patrols near Trump Tower here in Chicago in River North after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside Trump's Las Vegas hotel and casino. Chicago police, meantime, say there's no evidence of any threats involving the Trump Tower or anywhere else in the city, but patrols have been increased as a precaution. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded following a shooting that is being investigated in Kankakee. 1 person was taken into custody. A Chicago teen is back in the U.S. after being shot in Mexico last week. Jason Pena, flown back to be treated at a U.S. hospital. The 14-year-old has been in a coma since last Friday's shooting, which left his father and uncle dead. Chicago sports, Bulls lost to the Wizards 125-107. College football, Notre Dame's playoff game against Georgia postponed yesterday. The game will be played today at 3 p.m. Two more programs punching their ticket to the college football playoff semifinals, Texas and Ohio State. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
We've started a new year. There's a buzz in the air. With the new incoming administration, what expectations do you have? Will we see a turnaround in the economy? Will inflation come down? And is there a way to stop the chaos on our southern border? Yeah, 2025 comes with some big expectations. And we're here to keep track of the goals. Here's to a great new year together. AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 71 years old, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to switch over and give it a try was that I would rather take something of natural ingredients.
I'm almost 70 years old. I still work 12 to 14 hours every day, between 55 and 60 hours a week. And there's people half my age have trouble doing what I do. Balanced Nature sounded like a good idea, and once I started taking it, I found out it was a great idea.
Happy New Year! Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Tasty Catering invites you to come together this holiday season and celebrate with great food and great company.
Since 1989, Tasty Catering has been planning memorable holiday office parties all over Chicagoland and bringing your team together this year in the spirit of the season.
Their delicious holiday menu at tastycatering.com features all the amazing appetizers and entrees, savory side dishes, and decadent desserts that you'll need for the ideal holiday office party.
From elegant plated dinners to casual company buffets and festive cocktail hours.
Stop by their Elk Grove Village Kitchen and meet their award-winning catering family and sample some of their new and classic holiday menu dishes.
The experienced holiday events team is ready to take you step by step through the planning process, simply and stress-free.
Don't delay. Call Tasty Catering at 847-593-2000 or view the holiday menu online at tastycatering.com.
That's 847-593-2000. tastycatering.com. Holidays. Gather, eat, and enjoy together.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. The lowest price ever.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
541, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson delays already building. Ashland into the Dan Ryan. An accident in Wooddale, Irving Park and Wooddale Road. And in Bellwood, Mannheim southbound block between Oak and Butterfield with an accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Cloudy with a bit of late afternoon snow and a high of 32. Clearing with a bit of snow overnight and turning breezy with a low of 17. Cloudy and 26 right now. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter.
Good morning.
Morning, Charles. And we were talking about the terrorist attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day. And unfortunately, we're compelled to, at least in part, view this through the political lens because of the politics that the FBI and the D.C. press corps play with these horrific events. And no exception here. New Orleans police chief, but I just also wanted to fold in the local angle. New Orleans police chief Ann Kirkpatrick, who is a dead ringer for Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies. Did you see her?
I saw her.
Yeah.
Irene Ryan.
I was wondering where Granny was, what she was up to these days. She had this to say about what occurred after you heard from the mayor and you heard from the FBI, the police chief. Do we have the police chief? Where is she?
We want our community and our visitors to continue enjoying. There's so much to enjoy about New Orleans, and we are going to make sure that our routes in the Superdome are safe today for the game. And yet we had this tragic event, and we're sorry again to everyone in our community. But we do want you to go about the day, as we say, just stay away from bourbon. Okay?
Okay, Granny. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to her, the Sugar Bowl game between Georgia and Notre Dame got postponed to today. I don't know why. I want to give the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it was a need to redeploy law enforcement resources to address the aftermath of the terrorist attack. I could understand that, but then you have the police chief saying we're fully prepared to provide the necessary resources to ensure safety at the Sugar Bowl game.
But I got to think they canceled the game because of the spiritual side of this, man. I mean, the fact that
24 hours.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that, I mean, there you go. But I think, man, how could you play a football game after something like that?
I understand, but I guess it's maybe some sort of offering. Okay, I mean, it's not a big deal to me either way, but I'm just trying to follow the logic a little bit. That's number one. But number two, the more interesting question for the mayor, for the police chief is, why weren't those hydraulic posts up to protect Bourbon Street? And the reporting is that the protective barriers that are there and were removed in November as part of an overhaul of the security system in advance of the Super Bowl, because New Orleans hosts the Super Bowl, whatever that is, the first or second weekend in February. Yeah, right. So the stainless steel bollards were removed in November, and instead of having those barriers to prevent a car from driving down Bourbon Street, you had little orange cones that you see in the video. The F-150 driven by that terrorist just zipped around and then went on his rampage. So it seems to me that the mayor and the police chief have some explaining to do about how you remove barriers without replacing them immediately. If there needs to be an upgrade in advance of the Super Bowl, fine. But then you're going to remove protection. You immediately replace the upgraded the protection you want to upgrade, don't you? You don't leave it, especially when you have, Bourbon Street, generally speaking, but you have the holidays and you have New Year's Eve and you have college football bowl games, which are treated like Super Bowls for the purpose of security. How do you leave that street unprotected from the protection that was there?
Protection from what?
Well, how do you protecting revelers on Bourbon Street from car traffic? Because as you heard from one eyewitness, and if you've ever been to Bourbon Street, I mean, the cars where they can get around, and streets are so narrow and so populated, particularly in the entertainment district, that you have people hit accidentally. Much less allowing a car. So I mean, you put those protective bollards up in the first place for what? To prevent some sort of mass attack, casualty attack. So they weren't there. And the excuse is, well, we removed them in November to replace them, to enhance them. Well, how do you remove and then have like a 2-month delay on replace?
Because I don't think they really take it seriously, that they live in the fantasy world that says, oh, the border is secure. That is the kind of mentality
they
that
think
a lot of institutions have.
They think some like putting those barriers up is just like security theater, and it's not important.
It's not important. I don't think they think it's important.
Well, if that's their view, that's not a particularly persuasive one. It's actually quite a dangerous one. But I'd like to hear it. I'd like somebody to ask them. The reporting is just as I said, that they were removed in November. And I didn't hear anybody asking them about why they weren't replaced, why they didn't have more than orange cones on a street that's as heavily populated as it is, particularly in this time period, and particularly with, as I said, they treat the Sugar Bowl game like they treat the Super Bowl. So you would expect every available precaution and protection would be utilized. 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. Lewis, Southside.
Good morning, Dan, and good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Hey, my question is, why? Okay, well, I want to say that this is a movie we already saw before. It's called All the President's Men. This is a cover-up. My question is, why didn't they protect New Orleans like they protected New York City? Do you remember how they protected New York City when they dropped for the New Year's celebration? That if you couldn't come in there without with an umbrella or anything, and that if you left out of there, you couldn't return back into that point, And they didn't have the same protections that they had there in New York City that they had in New Orleans. Along with the fact that the FBI, they know who these people are, and the press is covering up with the FBI because they don't want Joe Biden to look bad, because all this stuff that's going on, these ain't Trump supporters. These are Democrat supporters. Look what just happened. What was that 2 weeks ago when that guy shot the insurance CEO down? Now they trying to make him out to be a victim and a hero. And now they're trying to make this guy out to be some type of a terrorist that nobody knew nothing about, and that they couldn't protect the people down there from that mass violence that's going on. And
thanks for the call, Lewis. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, so the guy posted, I'm talking about the terrorist attacker, he posted social media videos, just to refresh recollection we mentioned earlier, pledging allegiance to ISIS, saying that he would kill his family. He posted those videos some in the near hours before he arrived from Houston to New Orleans to commit this attack. And the reporting is ISIS flag on the F-150. So you're telling me, as you mentioned, Charles, 10 or 11 hours after the attack has been committed, that with the FBI resources available, and I'm sure dispatched to address this, they didn't know any of this. They didn't do a cursory look at social media. They didn't take notice of an ISIS flag on the F-150. I mean, it strains the bounds of credulity, obviously. And so when you have law enforcement lying to you or misdirecting you
and withholding information.
And withholding information on one issue, then, of course, people's minds are going to leap to suggestions that there is some nefarious plot afoot within law enforcement or within the media or the combination of the two. And I don't know why law enforcement, particularly the FBI, is so intent on destroying its credibility, is so intent on breeding mistrust. We'll put that question to former Supervisory Agent James Gagliano later in the show, but that's exactly what they're accomplishing.
Absolutely, and their credibility, as far as I'm concerned at this point, is non-existent. I mean, think of what about the latest revelation about January 6th and the agents that were on the ground with the crowd on January 6th? It took years for them to admit that. Despite the congressional hearings, Christopher Wray, was that his name? He kept saying that he didn't know how many people were on the ground.
Yeah, that was undiscoverable. He had no way of identifying, no way of gathering together an answer for congressional overseers.
Go find out, but he didn't, because that is the way they're doing business these days. The same FBI that would publicly raid the home of a former president is the FBI that's in charge of this investigation and other major investigations that are ongoing in the country. And they basically have no credibility whatsoever. Kash Patel cannot happen soon enough if he is a man of his word who's going to go in there and root out as much of this as much of these politics as he says he can. But
indeed.
We'll see.
John and Piatone, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, Dan, if you're trying to garner a little bit of favor with the local police, you're not getting it today. You have to understand where this problem started, and it hasn't to do anything with the local police. They were doing their job, and they were probably doing their job fine, but with all of this crap coming across the border, this all points to your president, your current president. Police is not...
First of all, just hold on. First of all, I'm not blaming local police. I said I have a question, and local officials need to answer it. So tell me, Mayor Cantrell, tell me, Police Chief Kirkpatrick, why those barriers weren't up. What the city's plan was, because it's a city issue. What the city's plan was to remove those barriers and then replace them in advance of the Super Bowl, because that's the story. So how do you remove barriers that ostensibly are integral to security in the French Quarter and have a 2-month delay in replacing them? I want an answer to that question. You don't?
Okay, and the proof is you've never been a public servant, you've never been a policeman, you don't understand.
So I don't get to ask questions.
And
why don't you answer the question for me then, since you're an expert?
You're the one that toted the thing.
Why don't you answer the question for me then, since you're the expert, John?
I am answering the question. I am indicating that you don't understand the
You're
problem.
telling me what I don't understand. Tell me what.
It is federal.
Local barriers at the city level are a federal issue.
That's all I can tell you. You made an enemy of the local police.
Oh, spare me your nonsense. Spare me your nonsense, John. I mean, it's the same. You have the same. John from Piatone has the same attitude that Christopher Wray does. We're beyond reproach. Give me the imperious. If you've never worn the badge, then you don't get to ask questions. No, sorry, that's wrong. And local security is at least in part a local political law enforcement issue. When we have major events in Chicago, John from Piatone, does CPD have something to say about it? When we have a NATO conference or a major sporting event, does the mayor have something to say about it, John from Piatone? Or do they just say, you'll have to ask federal law enforcement about it. You'll have to ask the President of the United States about it, because we don't know. There's no local law enforcement input, if not leadership, on these issues? That's nonsense. And you don't need to be a politician or a police officer to know that's nonsense. Nice try, though. Randy in Sandwich.
Well, I was going to say one thing, but John made this into a completely other thing. And this is boiled down for me is just incompetence area deals with something versus another. If anyone's ever been on Fremont Street in Las Vegas, you see how the ballards are run there.
Yeah.
If you've been in Milwaukee, you see how the ballards are run around the NBA stadium. Okay, this place, when I was there not so long ago, they have construction that's going on there. So the ballards became an inconvenience for any kinds of trucks that were trying to get in and off that road during the day when everybody's asleep from being drunk all night while they're trying to do the work. So what you build is something with jersey wall or the barriers that you see on the construction of the roads we do around here, where there's a weep hole where a truck can get through, but the truck has to do a pretty big S in order to be able to get around the barrier walls to get in and out of an area that's protected. And then what you would do is you would put an officer there that would be able to say yes or no, and a vehicle would be able to come through. So John from Piatone trying to be high and mighty and that you made an enemy, John, it comes down to common sense, okay? And you can't ask questions of your city officials or the people that are in charge because we're not privy to that information, then John, get a life, buddy, because we do. We're the people that are in the sector that need to be protected, and we deserve a right to be able to ask questions. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Rainey. Yeah, who ordered the orange cones to be put up as opposed to ballards or some other barrier? Well, was that Biden? Was it Chris Wray? Was it Lloyd Austin? Who was it? Go ahead. Just that's my question. John from Piatone, I'm sure, has the answer. Mike in Union.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, I was watching the news, and I didn't notice that the FBI didn't actually release a photo of the scumbag until like 4 in the afternoon, yet social media had it around noon while they're asking everybody for help. They give very little details on help, which is a total joke. And so typical of the FBI. Help us, but we're not going to allow you to help us. So I just wanted to bring it up again. Happy New Year.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. Roger in DeKalb, quickly.
Hey, yep, good morning. Yes, I saw the news conference with Sheriff Graney, and she shouldn't be the sheriff of 50 people. In her news conference, she said the police assessed they were not up to standards, the Palesters, so they took them out. My guess is bureaucrats. And then she's in her press conference, she said, we had a SWAT team car parked at that corner, and the guy went around and drove on the sidewalk. And then she repeated it and acted like astounded that somebody would go on the sidewalk to kill somebody in a terror attack. It was amazing incompetence.
Thanks for the call, Roger. Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's exactly it. So we replaced them because they weren't up to grade. Well, you replace them immediately. So you have something up to grade because that's the purpose, right? And you see the guy, the terrorist, make that turn, right? Who could have anticipated somebody wouldn't stop and ask police if they could commit a terrorist attack, right? Sheriff, Police Chief Graney, astounding. Coming up at 6:06, we'll talk H-1B visas. It is 6 a.m. AM 560 Chicago.
Dozens of people recovering, lucky to be alive. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. 15 others are not killed in the attack in New Orleans early New Year's Day.
I also still feel guilty that I couldn't help or that other people didn't make it out, you know? So on one hand, you're happy. On the other hand, you're feel terrible inside.
Alex Berth Mitchell just told Fox he missed being a victim going into a club 1 minute before a man drove a rented truck through a crowd of people. Police shot and killed Shamsud bin Jabbar, who was from Texas and a U.S. Army veteran. Improvised explosive devices also found, so investigators are looking to see if he had help. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill just told Fox a short time ago.
It's an active investigation of a crime scene after a terrorist event. And I don't think it's not possible to take this too seriously.
President Biden offered his condolences to the victims, calling the attack despicable, adding
that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
There was also an ISIS flag image found on the truck. President-elect Trump calls it pure evil. Adding in a Truth Social post after midnight, our country is a disaster, a violent erosion of safety, national security, and democracy. Here's another question related to New Orleans. Is there any link to what happened in Las Vegas?
where a rented Tesla Cybertruck filled with explosives blew up right outside the Trump International Hotel.
The vehicles used in both this and the New Orleans incident were rented from the same rideshare company, Turo. In a statement, the spokesperson from that company said, "We are heartbroken by the violence perpetrated in New Orleans and Las Vegas, and our prayers are with the victims and families. We are actively partnering with law enforcement authorities as they investigate both incidents."
Fox's Chanley Painter. The driver was killed inside the truck, at least 7 other people injured. Israel's taken out another Hamas leader as the war rages in Gaza, killing the head of the terror group's internal security forces. America's listening to Fox News.
6:02 in Chicago, 26 degrees and cloudy skies on WIND Chicago. Here are the stories we're following this morning. Chicago police are increasing patrols near Trump Tower in River North after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside a Trump property in Las Vegas. Chicago police, meantime, say there is no evidence of any threat involving the Trump Tower or anywhere else in the city, but patrols are being increased as a precaution. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded following a shooting in Kankakee. Police Chief Christopher Kidwell.
We believe that there was, shooting going back and forth between individuals inside the house. So I would say there was an excess of 30 rounds fired inside the house.
All 7 victims were hospitalized, including Quayshawn Isom and Travante Ellis, who were pronounced dead.
We believe there was definitely more than one shooter, just based on the evidence we've collected.
1 person was taken into custody, found hiding near that home. The driver of a Chevrolet involved in a crash that killed a Illinois State Police trooper has now been identified as John Fleet of Wilmington. The crash happened in the southbound lanes of I-55 near Blodgett Road in the Shanahan area. Funeral plans are now being announced for the trooper Clay Carnes. Funeral services will be held at the Parkview Christian Church in Orland Park. Visitation today, the funeral tomorrow. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Police Superintendent Larry Snelling are boasting about a drop in violent crimes citywide. There were 572 homicides in 2024 compared to 620 killings in 2023. Beginning January 1st, offenders who go through the Adult Redeploy Illinois program will now be called justice-impacted individuals. House Bill 4409 sparked a spirited debate when it passed last spring, and it goes into effect today. Nonprofit Project Hood's CEO Corey Brooks tells AM 560 that Democrats renaming criminal offenders justice-impacted individuals just doesn't work.
And the implication could not be clearer. Rather than being seen as criminals who victimize society, they will be seen as victims of the system.
The ARI program, through community service, is a state-mandated alternative to prison. It aims to reduce crime and recidivism at a lower cost to taxpayers. Bulls lost to Washington last night, 125-107. Notre Dame's college football playoff game against Georgia in New Orleans postponed yesterday due to the terror attack on Bourbon Street. College hoops, number 20 Fighting Illini go for their 3rd win in a row when they visit number 9 Oregon tonight. Northwestern will try for their 5th win in a row when they visit Penn State. The Cats 1-1 in Big Ten play, and tonight 9-4 Loyola looks to keep its 4-game win streak alive, facing Dayton in the A-10. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka says we're watching the master.
I'm going to ask him right now, would you make it $200 million and say
How perfect is that? You've got the guy right next to you. He's just committed $100 billion. Hey, dude, you want to double it? That is the perfection.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I am a senior citizen, and actually I've seen the commercials, and I started taking it because I thought, well, that sounds like a really good idea.
Well, I saw it. We watch Fox News, and I saw it on there, so I thought to order them. And I'm telling you, it's terrific stuff.
It makes me feel good. So me and my wife both enjoy it, you know.
Because I can't do it without my Balance of Nature.
We've maintained it without taking a lot of food supplements we had been taking. We stopped and are just using Balance of Nature supplements.
Happy New Year! Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code Chicago.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba. With cold and flu season, now is the time to ensure you're building an effective immune system. Zinc is so critical for every function of your body, especially your immune defense. And there's no better way to check your zinc levels than our zinc tally test. First, we'll test you in our offices, and then you get to take your very own zinc tally test home with you, and once a week, watch your steady progress. Can't get to our offices for your first zinc tally test? No problem. We'll ship a kit to you. It's so fast and simple to use, with quick results in just seconds, with you not having to pay for those blood tests to check for zinc deficiencies, which most of us probably are deficient. So call our HealthQuest radio hotline at 800-794-1855 to order yours today. And listen to HealthQuest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, this Saturday morning at 11. Call 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855.
6:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows at valdecas.com, your Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Northwest Side police are leaving an incident and clearing Irving Park Road westbound between Narragansett and Oak Park Avenue. Bellwood, an accident in the cleanup stage. Manheim, southbound between Oak and Butterfield. And on the Ike, outbound, you've got an outbound off-ramp to Central blocked off right now with a disabled vehicle being swept out of your way. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, mostly cloudy and some snow late this afternoon, high 32. Cloudy snow early this evening, then breezy tonight, low 17. Sunny, breezy, cold day tomorrow, the high at 26. Sunny cloud Saturday, high 23. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
26 in clouds at O'Hare. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is Charles T. Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Good morning.
Charles, great to have you back. And over the holidays, the debate over immigration exploded in MAGA world, within intra-MAGA, between the likes of Steve Bannon and Elon and Vivek, the two Bobs, among others. And the way I view it, as a proxy issue for a larger discussion about how we should do immigration and the differences of opinion some America Firsters have. H-1B visa program, which is intended for high-skilled workers to fill jobs that companies can't find American workers to fill. It's the gist of it. Well, this broke out into what I think is an issue being demagogued by both sides of this debate. So I'm going to try to be the voice of reason, which means I'm sure I'll be immediately subjected to demagogue from both sides. We'll see. Demagoguery from both sides. We'll see. But it started with some posts by Elon and Ramaswamy on the issue. Let me give you an example, because this is the Ramaswamy post that I commented on. And again, it's in the context of this H-1B matter. Here, let me find it. Apologies, Oh, here we go. Here's what Ramaswamy wrote. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech in Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Vivek obviously watches a lot of sitcoms. Goes on. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kind of parents that focus their kids on science competitions and fewer TV watching and more books and so forth. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kind of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy is what you achieve. Now, close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raised their kids according to one model versus the other. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from the slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practice into existence. I'm confident we can do it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And the response from people like Steve Bannon, well, here's Steve Bannon's response. We haven't fought these battles over years and years and years to allow American citizens of every race, ethnicity, religion be gutted by the sociopathic overlords in Silicon Valley. David Sachs, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk, there's no reform. We want it gone, H-1B visa program. We want reparations for the tech workers that you stole their lives. I assume Steve Bannon is being absurd to demonstrate the point, talking about reparations for tech workers. But I mean, this shows you the divide. Musk, who was a H-1B visa recipient, likes the program. Vivek likes the program, at least in theory. They're not saying it's not subject to review and potential reform, but they like the concept of it. And the O-1 visa program, too, which is for people who have demonstrated, outstanding performance in the range of business and civic life. They like that sort of thing because, obviously, it's suggesting that America be a magnet for the best and brightest and most talented around the world. We want people that can add value to the national fabric. That's their argument. And Steve Bannon's argument, and many who chimed in behind him, we want it gone. Essentially, we have foreign workers illicitly stealing the jobs of Americans in the tech industry. It's not limited to tech. Big accounting firms, Fortune 500 companies across the space. But it's a lot of IT, computer, accounting jobs is what we're talking about.
Dan, here we sit in the third largest metro area in the country. And in the city of Chicago, children are graduating high school, reading at a fourth grade level, doing math at a fourth grade level. And this is how we're competing on the world stage with young people like that. And, we just got to we have to regain some perspective in the United States. India is the most populous country in the world. They have 3.5, 4 times as many people living in India as live in the United States.
Maybe just behind China, but yeah, it's
no,
over a billion
actually
people.
Is the second largest country in the world, and they have 3.5, 4 times as many people. They learn coding in China. They learn coding and other, I guess, these high-tech skills in India. They do. And apparently they're learning them at a more effective rate, at least enough of their population is, as much as we have, and they're excelling. And
it's interesting you point up Illinois as a microcosm, Chicago and Illinois as a microcosm for a problem that went largely unaddressed in this debate back and forth between different cliques within the MAGA world, if you will. Because here was my response to Vivek's comment that you just heard me read. I think he's right about American culture, generally speaking. And when I said he is right that too many drivers of American culture promote identity and relativism rather than merit and virtue. He's right about that. He sort of beats that drum relentlessly, but he's right about it. But to suggest the problem with America's supply of high-skilled tech workers is due to elevating the Zacks and Slaters over the Screeches is reductive. It's very Tiger Mom redux. If your high school kid is a 2 or 3 sport athlete versus a concert pianist, it doesn't make him Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. I would encourage people to check out the documentary series that I mentioned on this show before from 15 years ago called 2 Million Minutes, which provides a comparison between how kids in India, China, and the United States spend, on balance, their respective 2 million minutes constituting their high school careers. The series presents profiles of bright, diligent kids in each country who distribute their time differently, but in perfectly productive pursuits. Just as we bristle at the left's admonition to coal miners to become coders, so we should reject the idea we need to orient high school to produce more content moderators for Facebook. More significant than cloying sitcoms is, for example, the fact that only 39 out of 100 kids in government K-12 schools in Illinois, a system of 1.8 million students, and a fair microcosm in the United States, can read at grade level. 39 out of 100. That portends poorly for producing the high performers, not to mention properly educated citizens, America needs in virtually every sector. It becomes even more pressing in the unfolding AI world where language skills will have heightened importance. And even if government K-12 is humming, the idea that America is or could ever be the sole repository of talent and industriousness in the world is fiction. We, of course, need a sensible legal immigration system that may include special classifications, including H-1Bs. While Ramaswamy and Musk may have been a bit flippant with their MAGA detractors, a simple Econ 101 reminder should diffuse much of the discord. Comparative advantage in production necessarily implicates comparative advantage in talent. We should act accordingly to use that understanding to our advantage. That's my view, which is sort of, if you will, a middle way between being iconoclastic in support of or in opposition to the H-1Bs or other classifications within immigration law.
I love the fact that Elon and Vivek have begun this conversation.
Yeah.
I love it. And because we got to have it at some point in this country. And the values that we have come to embrace over the past 30, 40 years, they got to go. They absolutely have to go. And, and we have to refocus.
Well, Trump has, I think, demonstrably moved on this issue. I mean, Trump in 2016 during a GOP presidential debate said this about H-1B visas.
The H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
So that was Trump in 2016. This was Trump before he went into his New Year's Eve party a few days ago in Mar-a-Lago.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B visas, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir, you said you changed your position. You plan to go to the Carter funeral next?
So he's sided with Elon and Vivek, as far as I can tell, in this discussion to date.
Yeah, but I think Vivek and Elon are basically conceding to the multipolar world of the future. I mean, this country is going to look different in 25, 50 years than it does today. When you have as many people in Asian people, that includes Chinese and Indian people, as well as Indonesian, all the way to West Asia, this country is going to look, we're a country of immigrants. It's going to look different. And because people are going to continue to come here. But we can still be the best country in the world. We can still have the highest per household income in the world. We can still do that. But we don't have to, without having 4 times as many people. But we've got to get the best and brightest, and we have to begin to put a premium on being the best and brightest. And right now, we are not doing that. We absolutely are not doing that. We're giving. Oh man! I mean, we have Cardi B commenting on presidential politics, and some of the people that Kamala Harris trotted out for her campaign, the so-called celebrities. Are those the people we're holding up to the rest of America?
Well, some of us are, but a lot of us are not. I mean, I think there needs to be some proportionality to this debate and less heat in order to generate more light. I mean, just some perspective, some context. So the H-1B visas are capped at $65,000 per year. That's statutory, plus another $20,000 for people with master's degrees, postgraduate degrees. So that's $85,000 in total. The total employment for just these handful of big tech companies, Amazon, Google, Apple, Dell, Facebook, NVIDIA, LinkedIn, and Netflix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just picked out those 8 well-known tech company brands. Total employment for those companies is 2.29 million. H-1B visas are capped at 65/85K a year. Now, I know there's some arguments about abuse in the system and more being allowed in than the statute provides for. And so to the extent that there's abuse in the program, well, I would treat it the same way that I would treat the temporary protected status designation for people who come into this country seeking asylum, fleeing real political or religious persecution. Temporary protected status, yes, we want to be a sanctuary for people fleeing truly the kind of political and religious persecution that puts their lives on the line. And that's why we have asylum laws, and that's why we have the TPS designation. If it gets abused the way it has been abused clearly under the Biden administration, well, then that needs to be reined in. and perhaps the statutory language needs to be tightened up, and people who were responsible for the abuse need to be punished. But that doesn't necessarily undermine the idea of the designation in the first place. And that's the same thing I would say about H-1Bs.
Well, H-1B, too, keep in mind that these are people who come into the country that myself, as a taxpayer, that I don't have to support. I mean, they're going to have jobs. They're going to have good-paying jobs. At least I'm not going to be spending money and bankrupting the city to let these people in to the country. And for that reason, I don't have any problem with it.
Well, the other thing, too, is, we've done a Bracero program before after World War II when we needed migrant workers for agriculture. Mm-hmm. It was 4.5 million people. It was a temporary designation, and they were workers, and they were self-sufficient, and then they went home. I'm not opposed to quote unquote low-skilled. I hate this low-skilled, high-skilled. It's sort of pretentious, but I'm not averse to what is characterized as low-skilled labor. People that want to be productive here. It's an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for us. It's mutually beneficial, but it's a temporary situation, and so we have history doing that. And I think we need to be open-minded about immigration that is productive for people who come here specifically to be productive. They're incentivized to be productive. Otherwise, they don't maintain the designation and they don't stay. And they benefit the larger organizations that employ primarily Americans. So the organization grows, then everybody benefits. I think we need to think about this in those terms, and not so much in this sort of for every job some young man from New Delhi gets here, an American loses their job, and our quality of living and our respective wages go down. That's not actually how economics works. Corey in Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hey, Corey. Corey in Woodlawn. All right, we'll put Corey on hold. Trish in South Loop.
Good morning and Happy New Year. I just wanted to say that I do agree with 99% of what you said, but to me, in my mind, as I'm thinking, America has our schools, our churches, our government, our churches have put as a priority fixation on people's underwear instead of alphabet and writing and understanding and thinking and reading Shakespeare and other things that we grew up doing in the baby boomer era. And another case in point, my grandson is being scouted for the NBA. And I told him over the phone, I want your autograph. And my daughter laughed and she said, he can't even spell his name, Mother. He can't even do penmanship. There's a case in point. We are reaping what we have sown. And as the Bible says in Deuteronomy 28, you were the head, and I will make you the tail if you forsake me. And our education system and the churches has forsaken our God. Thank you, and I hope we have a good New Year.
Thanks for the call, Trish. Yeah, no, the K through 12 piece is a big part of this discussion that not a lot of people want to tackle. Scott in Aurora.
Yeah, so you guys already started getting into it before you took my call, but that was the one thing I was going to bring up. I think if they're going to go ahead with this program, that, I think the people that are taking an American job, they should actually have to pay them. If they're really in it for, the brains, like if they're smarter, then they should actually have to pay them at least the same amount as the person that they're taking the place of. And I think it would help with, easing people, that a very profitable company is hiring this person to act because they're actually smarter and not just to save money.
Well, okay, Scott. Businesses are in business to make a profit. And so, they want the most amount of talent, the least amount of cost, of course. But do we really want, if you think this is a good idea conceptually, to allow companies to bring people in if they can demonstrate the need. Do you really want to get into you want the government getting into the hiring and wage setting policies of corporations? I don't. And I know some of the commentary in this discussion has been, oh, this is an area where the left and the right are coming together. Well, if the left and the right are coming together, then the right should be concerned.
You could also balance it by how many American engineers are moving to India to take jobs or moving to China to take jobs. I mean, there has to be some reciprocity in this, and that, I think, is balance. Because if the company is competing worldwide, as I assume these companies are, then why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't companies in India begin hiring American engineers? Would an American move to India?
Maybe for the right
China?
price.
For the right, exactly.
Right. I mean, I just let's get back to like what we believe as people that are oriented towards free minds and free markets. We generally believe, I know there are some stipulations and there's going to be some disagreement, but let's start from the premise where there's some agreement. We believe in the free movement of money, people, capital, labor, right? Capital and labor. Corey Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Charles. Hey, you're in my wheelhouse. I've been in IT for almost 30 years, and I'm going to tell you right now, the smartest people in this country, I kid you not, are Americans. Every time I've got a system hiccuping, application with a memory leak, is some white guy out of the Upper Peninsula on a Starlink system trying to fix this problem. These companies are not hiring these people because they're smarter than us. They're hiring these individuals because it's cheaper to hire them. They're hiring these individuals because they have to keep them working, and that's a tremendous incentive to bully your employee. That's why these companies are hiring these individuals. They're not smarter than Americans. They've never seen these machines. They don't know how these machines look. These are $1 million machines. There are contracts in these data centers that have to go to people that are not in other countries. Government contracts. We can't even touch certain systems if you're not even an American citizen. They're not hiring these guys because they're smarter than us. They're hiring these guys because it's cheaper to do so. Businesses don't do decisions like that. They do decisions of what's profitable.
Well, that's right. By the bottom line, but maybe I mean, I'm asking. I never suggested that they're smarter. You know, it's not a group thing. It's not China versus India versus America who's got the smartest. It's an individual basis. That's the unit of analysis. But we could have a lot of smart IT guys and smart engineers and smart software developers and smart CPAs and so on and so forth. But do we have enough of them? Is another question.
The problem is, Dan, the people that built this infrastructure are in America. And when something crashes, I'm talking about when a critical system has to be back online in a couple seconds, it's always a white or black guy in Chicago or in some place you've never heard from in America that's calling in and fixing everything. And people are listening in on that call and paying attention and writing it down because these guys are in their 50s and their 60s, Dan, and they're moving on. And companies don't want to let them go because they know that their infrastructure will not last if these guys go out the door.
But in
That's why they're paying the big.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Let's pick this up. We're up against the clock. Charles, we'll get Charles' comment on what Corey had to say and more discussion on this at 6:36. But now we check the headlines with Scott.
Dan and Charles, it's 6:34, and a U.S. Army veteran who drove a pickup truck into a crowd of New Year's revelers in New Orleans and apparently posted videos to social media hours before the carnage, saying he was inspired by the terror group ISIS and had a desire to kill. One witness of the incident, Alex Mitchell, says he had no idea what was going on when the attack first started.
It's hard to see that. It's really hard to see that and know other people won't see their families again or they won't see their loved ones. It's just terrible.
FBI spokesperson Althea Duncan said an ISIS flag was found on the trailer hitch of the pickup truck that the attacker used. Police have raided the South Korean airline this morning, whose plane crashed on Sunday, killing 170.
Investigators are searching the offices of Jeju Air, plus the operator of Muan International Airport and the Regional Aviation Authority. They want to get to the bottom of the worst aviation disaster in South Korean history. The Boeing 737-800 touched down without wheels, overshot the runway and burst into flames when it hit an embankment. 2 crew members were the only survivors. Air safety experts say the concrete-based embankment proved catastrophic. The pilot had told air traffic control the aircraft suffered a bird strike, but we don't yet know why the landing gear didn't deploy. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Las Vegas police are saying this morning the same car rental app that was used in the New Orleans attack was also used in the Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion. Las Vegas Metro Police Department Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
I have authorized what we call an ABX roster to continue for the next 2 days, which is my New Year's Eve staffing plan of over 1,000 officers, both in our community neighborhoods as well as on the Strip and downtown, in partnership with all of the other law enforcement agencies.
McMahill saying Las Vegas authorities say the vehicles were both rented through the Turo car renting app. Right now, authorities are calling it a coincidence. Chicago police are increasing patrols near Trump Tower in River North after that Cybertruck explosion. Meantime, Chicago police say in light of the New Orleans terror attack, there's no evidence of any threats in the city involving Trump Tower or anywhere else, but patrols are increasing as a precaution. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded following a shooting in Kankakee. Police Chief Christopher Kidwell.
We believe that there was, shooting going back and forth between individuals inside the house. So I would say there was excess of 30 rounds fired inside the house.
Kidwell saying shots were fired early yesterday at a New Year's party at a home in the 1800 block of Pearson Parkway. Bulls fell apart in the second half of a loss to Washington, 125-107. Notre Dame's college football playoff game against Georgia in New Orleans was postponed yesterday following the terror attack on Bourbon Street. 2 more programs punching their ticket to the playoff semifinals in college football, Texas and Ohio State. White Sox adding some pitching depth, trading for Philadelphia left-hander Tyler Gilbert yesterday. The news is a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality, professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor at Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Larry Elder sees Trump already getting tough.
If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
And Barack Obama complained about NATO not paying its bills. George W. Bush complained about NATO not paying its bills. Donald Trump complained about NATO not paying their bills. And guess what? NATO began to step up and paying their bills.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-216-0307 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-216-0307. That's 800-216-0307. Again, 800-216-0307.
Can you believe it? 2025 is here. As you start this new year, you have probably been thinking about your resolutions. And let's be honest, your well-being has probably been on top of your list for years. But this year, maintaining your wellness goals is easier than ever with Balance of Nature. Balance of Nature's whole food ingredient supplements have 31 varieties of fruit and vegetable ingredients, from tomatoes to sweet potatoes. No synthetics or added fillers. Finally, a resolution that will be a breeze to keep. Make 2025 the year you feel your best, and keep celebrating for years to come.
Happy New Year! Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. And get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
6:42, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Rapid Radio's instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off. Free UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. On the Kennedy, we're seeing delays now between Division and Chicago. On the Ike outbound, an accident on the right-hand shoulder at First Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy with a bit of late afternoon snow and a high of 32. Snow overnight, a low of 17. Cloudy and 26 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. In for Amy this morning, though, is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Yep.
And Charles and I were joining the debate over the H-1B visa program that started over the holidays between, in one camp, the Musks and Ramaswamis, David Saxes of the world, and another camp, the Steve Bannon. And the other people, a friend of the show, like Batya Ungar-Sargon, the editor of the Newsweek editorial page. She was on with Rachel Campos-Duffy on Fox over the holidays, and they engaged as well. And Batya Ungar-Sargon, she engaged. She went pretty much full Bannon.
Before Donald Trump, there was a handshake agreement between both parties to erase our national borders, to import millions and millions of low-wage, cheap labor, and to export and offshore manufacturing, good middle-class jobs to build up the middle class of China and Mexico. Now, the working class said, no, we will not cheer as you sell off our children's futures. And they elected Donald Trump to say no to that. And what did the left do? The left immediately started to call them racist. You are a racist if you oppose the selling out of your children's future for the enrichment of the leftist elites. Now what we are seeing is the exact same thing, but it's coming from people who claim to be part of the MAGA movement. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, calling American workers lazy and stupid and anti-Indian racists of all things, because they are saying no to the selling out of the future of their children. And it is so dispiriting to see this coming from the so-called right. And I think you nailed it, Rachel. These people do not believe in national borders. They don't know what a nation is. They don't know what it means to feel a sense of obligation, not just to our fellow Americans because they are our fellow Americans, but to people who have less than you. What happened to noblesse oblige? Elon Musk, you are the richest man in the world. You can't have a little bit of respect for the country and the people in it and the working class of the nation that gave you that privilege. You have no respect for the God who gave you that privilege. It is so utterly infuriating. And I'm so grateful to you and to Patriot Steve Bannon, our national hero, for towing the line and holding the line on this and saying, no, we will not sit here and cheer as they take good jobs away from Americans and give them to other people.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I like Batya Ungar Sargon, but the idea that Ramaswamy and Musk don't believe in national borders and have no gratitude towards the opportunities that they've been afforded, like all of us, being America.
But
especially Musk, who, as I mentioned, is an H-1B visa recipient, so obviously from South Africa. That's way over the top.
But Dan, Americans make up less than 5%, maybe 3-4% of the world's population. What's to say that in this interconnected world, that a tech company could not run its operations from India, which is a large democracy? I mean, I don't want to get into China and all the issues there, but
tech companies do run their businesses out
exactly.
of
And
India.
so why not raid their best and brightest, bring them here so they can work between from sea to shining sea, as opposed to over there? Get their best and brightest when we have the kind of GDP that we'll be able to afford them. And we're really walking a tightrope here. We are no longer the world's, the word, hegemon? We're just not in a multipolar world. We have to learn to compete with the rest of the world. And I think what Musk and Ramaswamy are saying is that this is a way we can do it. We can take their best and brightest. Now, a lot of people think their best and brightest are going to come here and work for less. I concede that could be a problem. But at some point, we got to compete on a world stage.
Well, I don't know why it's a problem necessarily, and I agree with you. I mean, I hate to use sports metaphors for politics. In fact, I allow only myself to use them. But we like free agency in professional sports, and we like the portal in college sports, but we don't want a portal for talent the world over. I just and again, like I said before, we start from a basis that we believe in the free movement of capital and labor. I know there are some restrictions and there's processes that have to be attached to that in some respects, but that's the premise, and we should try to adhere to that premise as closely as we can in a sensible way, shouldn't we?
It speaks to larger issues that go to the home and how we're raising our children, our family structure, and all that. I mean, I don't want to go off into that tangent right now, but as my good friend, my late good friend, Bob Petty, a former colleague at ABC7, used to always say, it's time for American kids to start doing their homework at night after school. And in order to compete, we're going to have to do that. In this world that's coming, we're going to have to do that.
Well, you heard Batya Ungar Sargon suggest that if you're supportive of the H-1B visa program, you want to throw open the borders and everything else, which is just not accurate. That is not the position of Musk and Ramaswamy. It's not my position. And Rachel Campos Duffy followed up by pointing out this wonderful opportunity where the left and the right is coming together.
What I see is left and right coming together in this. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's a really positive thing. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this moment revealed that the divide in this country is not left versus right, and it's certainly not, God forbid, racial. It is the multiracial, multi-ethnic working class coalition coming together and taking on the oligarchs, both the over-credentialed college elites and the oligarchs of Silicon Valley, and saying we're going to stand together. Black, white, Hispanic, Jewish, Asian, working class Americans are going to stand together for the future of their children.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you came, and I have to tell you, I think this debate that's going on.
So, where do you come down? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, Colleen, Wicker Park.
Hi, Dan. Boy, sure great to have you back from vacation.
Thank you.
I'm listening to all of these different points of view, and none of them are completely wrong, and a lot of them are very, very, very right. But it occurred to me as I was listening that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are doing what they're doing not to degrade, but because they appreciate what America gave them, and they want to. They don't want to see our country fall so far behind that we can't catch up. And the point that I was going to speak to was that, and I haven't heard anybody mention it much, is the way the unions are putting the squeeze on both the children and their families, and on the other end, the employers. You've got teachers who can't teach, are not much better educated or came through the same system. They can't speak English. You watch them on the TV. They can't even say ask. They're not teaching, and the children should, and it's not just on the teachers, because the parents, if they have an obligation to send those kids to school with at least a modicum of discipline that they can sit still and not disrupt everybody else, and are in a position to learn. So that's a part of the issue. But if you take all these kids and put them, think of them like a racehorse. You put the horse in the starting gate and you hobble him, and you put extra weight on his back, maybe even blindfold him. You can't expect him to win the race when the others are charging down the straightaway. We're hobbling our own children by not educating them properly, and that makes them less desirable, less competitive in the workforce, and they come with this sense of entitlement that if they belong to a union, and way too many people do, that the seeds of destruction by the unions, which we know are all left, that were planted when they were young, come to fruition and just tear up our society because they think they're entitled to $20 an hour to start. They're not worth $5 an hour if they can't even read or do math. I mean, it's a problem, and it comes from both ends. So you got an employer. Why should he pay $20 to somebody who's basically worthless? They're worth minimum wage that you would get at a first time job where you're learning everything on the spot, or you get them from somewhere else that, all things being equal, are far better educated because they're not hobbled, as I mentioned earlier, and they are not wedded to a union that makes them think that they're worth a fortune right out of the chute.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Colleen. I appreciate it. Here with H-1B visas, we're not talking about union jobs per se, but there are ripple impacts. And the larger point too is again, this isn't about like Chinese or Indian IT people are better than Americans or vice versa. It's on an individual basis. It's an individual person in a particular field. So you have to look at it that way. But certainly the entitlement mentality. I shouldn't have to compete. I should get this amount of money. That runs throughout our culture, more than just within the union workforce. And it's a problem. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan.
You know what, Bob, can you call back so we don't have you on the Munchkin line? I don't know why that line is all messed up again. So we can understand your point. Will and Skokie.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, there's two things that I want to jump on. First of all, the operators are waiting stuff that they outsource to India and the Philippines. Half the time you can't understand these people. I work with computers a lot, and I'm on the phone to these guys for support. and they have you can't understand them. They just can't. They don't speak English, and they basically have these scripts that they have to work on, which means they don't really have the knowledge. They're just being trained to follow a script. The second thing too is I'm kind of a nerd. I was into science all the time. My brother was into sports, and when you look at the society where they're paying guys who can throw footballs millions of dollars, whereas the people who can actually do calculus, they're scrambling for jobs. It's part of the culture. I can see both sides of the argument. The one thing too with the H-1B program is, as you delineated it, it was a good program if they kept with the parameters. The problem is you have the bureaucrats who sit there and start shaving and changing the requirements for those parameters where it starts to get bad. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the call, Will. Yeah, I mean, you always have to worry about agency capture, too, the big corporations that are, making thousands of H-1B visa applications on an annualized basis and, manipulating the process through CIS with respect to the strictures of the program. And by the way, since 1990, this program has been amended a half a dozen times, and nobody's saying it can't be again. And nobody's saying it's not worth examination. Even Vivek and Musk were arguing about sort of the existence of it conceptually, and then we need to get into the details about how it operates in practice and what kind of oversight and safeguards are in place. Bob in Buffalo Grove. Hey, Bob. Bob. All that work to get Bob back, and he's not there. Joe in East Dundee.
Yeah, the IT companies out on the West Coast went as far as floating ships out on the ocean to avoid all these regulations. The H-1B visa program, I understand if you absolutely need workers, but there's all kinds of American engineers that could use jobs.
Well, thanks for the call, Joe. I mean, again, maybe, but it's sort of a two-step process. Does the program make sense from a place of understanding that we don't and never will, no one country will ever possess all the talent in any particular sector, including computer software and financial services, in the world? And so we should try to attract talent in those industries and others where they are force multipliers for the businesses that want to bring them and sponsor and pay to bring them, force multipliers for those businesses and by extension the larger society. If you think that's a good idea, then we start from that basis and then we try to design something that accomplishes or helps to accomplish that goal. If you don't think that's a good idea, if you think Econ 101 doesn't exist and there's no such thing as comparative advantage in production or the talent that goes into production, well, then we're going to be at a divide. Dan and Charles, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, Charles Thomas in for Amy J this morning, and I will talk to Steve Moore about Trumponomics, including get his view on this H-1B visa flap. That's at 7:07. It is now 7 a.m. AM 560 WIND.
Did he act alone, or did he have help? I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News is one of the many questions the day after the New Orleans terror attack that left at least 15 people dead, dozens injured.
This act of pure evil, as President Trump said, is exactly right. A vicious attack on innocent Americans celebrating New Year's. Everyone involved in this needs to be brought swiftly to justice.
House Speaker Mike Johnson a short time ago on Fox. He's from Louisiana, closely following the probe.
Officials still believe that there are more suspects out there. Now, this time yesterday was chaos. Police say 42-year-old Samsudeen Jabbar plowed a rental truck into crowds of people on Bourbon Street at 3:15 in the morning yesterday. And investigators are trying to figure out how Jabbar, a Texas-born U.S. citizen, became radicalized. He served 13 years in the Army and Army Reserves. The FBI says there was an ISIS flag and pipe bombs in the truck he was driving.
Fox's Madison Scarpino in New Orleans. Jabbar was killed by police. President Biden called the attack despicable, offering condolences to the victims. And on that same sentiment, Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill wants a college football playoff game postponed yesterday by the terror attack, postponed again. Instead of the plan for Georgia and Notre Dame to play this afternoon, she tells Fox,
we have at least 10 more that are clinging to life in the hospital. And, you know, I think that there's a certain degree of respect that we owe to the dead and to their families and the victims.
Here's something else being investigated. Is New Orleans at all linked to what happened in Las Vegas, where a rented Tesla Cybertruck full of explosives blew up early New Year's Day right outside the Trump International Hotel?
We're absolutely investigating any connectivity to what happened in New Orleans, as well as other attacks that have been occurring around the world. We're not ruling anything out yet.
Las Vegas Metro Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
We do know the truck was rented in Colorado. We were able to trace that truck through the Tesla charging station.
The driver inside the truck was killed, at least 7 other people injured. America's listening to Fox News.
25 degrees. That's 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Here are the stories we're following on WIND Chicago. Chicago police are increasing patrols near Trump Tower in River North after a Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside the Trump property in Las Vegas. The incident happened yesterday and is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. Meantime, Chicago police say right now there is no evidence of any threat involving Chicago's Trump Tower or anywhere else in the city, but patrols are being increased. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded following a shooting in Kankakee, where Police Chief Christopher Kidwell says shots were fired early yesterday. All 7 victims hospitalized, including Quayshawn Isom and Travante Ellis, who were later pronounced dead.
We believe there was definitely more than one shooter just based on the evidence we've collected.
1 person has been taken into custody after they were found hiding near the home. Funeral plans announced after an Illinois State Trooper was struck and killed on Monday night. Illinois State Trooper Clay Carnes was removing debris from the highway when he was struck. Funeral services will be held at the Parkview Christian Church in Orland Park. Visitation today from 1 to 8 p.m. The funeral will take place on Friday. The driver of the pickup involved in the crash has now been identified as John Fleet of Wilmington. He did remain at the scene and faces a Scots law charge and other citations. Homeowners may have escaped a property tax hike, but their pocketbooks will be hit beginning today in other ways in the city of Chicago, with new taxes and fees expected to generate $181 million this year. Alderman Bill Conway doesn't like the way Mayor Brandon Johnson balanced his budget.
Most of this budget is really being balanced with extra fees and taxes and being balanced on the back of working families, and I don't think that's right.
Driving and parking downtown already pricey, just got even more expensive. Taking a ride share to downtown between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. will add an extra $1.50 to the fare. Chicago sports. Bulls fell apart in the second half of a 125-107 loss to the Wizards. Notre Dame's college football playoff game against Georgia now tentatively set for 3 p.m. this afternoon due to yesterday's terror attack on Bourbon Street. College hoops, number 20 Fighting Illini take on number 9 Oregon. Northwestern will go for their 5th win in a row when they visit Penn State. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because Great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk is saying crazy things across the country.
The head of the ACLU, Anthony Romero, is talking about how they're going to work with city and local governments to sever their relationships with the federal government. Anthony Romero is talking about widespread secession from the United States.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
That's why I don't go online without connecting to NordVPN. I don't want anyone stealing my personal information and snooping on my browsing activity. Also, TechRadar named NordVPN as the most trusted VPN by casual users and experts. Features like Threat Protection Pro safeguard your devices from phishing websites. Scan downloads for malicious files, and disable intrusive ads and trackers so you can surf more safely online. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. By the way, you can protect up to 10 devices with one account. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
7:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Online at papanicholas.com. Tri-State, an accident on 294 northbound just after St. Charles with a left lane block. Lake Zurich this morning, Elah Road northbound between Cuba and Rand shut down due to an accident investigation. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continue next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and a bit of snow around this afternoon, the high 32. Some snow early this evening, a breezy night, low 17. It'll be sunny, breezy, and cold tomorrow, the high 26. Clouds and sun on Saturday, the high 23. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
25 degrees at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. This morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter.
Co-host du jour.
Yes, to co-host du jour, indeed. Nice French, perfect timing, because we're going to talk French-Canadian a little bit. Justin Trudeau. He's having a hell of a time, and Trump is having a lot of fun at his expense. Part of Trump's
He is a joke. That's why I'm laughing.
Part of Trump's Christmas message, Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal. Always making certain the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. So he's not giving up on the canal issue. He's also not giving up on annexing Canada. Also, writes Trump on Truth Social, to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high. But if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country in the world. And he's got some commentary for the Greenlanders as well. But the trolling / overture to Canada, maybe it's a combination of trolling, but then there's some real insight into the trolling, because this is about how well Justin Trudeau is being received these days in Canada. One woman ran into him on the ski slopes at a resort lodge, and this was that interaction.
Mr. Prime Minister. Yeah. Please get the out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, ma'am.
Yeah, you suck.
She woos him over only to spike him as, please get the blank out of BC and you suck. So that's about how it's going. And so actually Kevin O'Leary, Kevin O'Leary, the real estate impresario, right, and the game show host, if you want to call it that, Shark Tank. He is proposing, and he's apparently meeting with Trump or discussing this with Trump, not an incorporation of Canada into the United States, not the 51st state, but an economic union. Take a listen.
What I did, and I've been doing this now for about 48 hours, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from the Canadian public. I enjoy a very large social media following there. So I said to them, look, what deal do you want? And they definitely don't want to give up their sovereignty, but they really want to explore this idea of an economic union, because Canada, you think about the 40 million people, size of California, unlimited resources, unlimited power, unlimited gas, unlimited water, unlimited lumber, unlimited everything. And they're not stupid. They're thinking, wait a second, what if we had free trade east, west, north, south? And we put all our resources in, instead of squabbling on our own border between Canada and the United States, and put all that money up into protecting ourselves against the Chinese and the Russians up north. That all makes sense to Canadians. They just don't want to give up their sovereignty, just like somebody born in Louisiana doesn't want to be born somewhere else. They want to say, look, I was born in Calgary, whatever. But the way to solve for that is a passport, no different than the EU. Any American get it, any Canadian can get the background check. They're starting to like that idea a lot more than the idea of selling out the whole country.
Let's see how much Steve Moore likes the idea. Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve Moore, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Happy New Year. By the way, there's a wonderful meme out there related to what we've been talking about. It has Trump, paying his Amazon shopping cart bill, and it has Panama Canal, Canada, Greenland. It's funny. Look, this is was Ronald Reagan's vision, right? Going back to the early mid-1980s when Reagan talked about this whole idea of North America being a giant free trade zone, and the idea of people being able to come across the border. By the way, it's a kind of a quick funny story why this would be important about the idea of being able to people coming back and forth over the Canadian border. I had to give a speech outside of Niagara Falls. This was a few years ago, and I flew into Buffalo, and you drive from Buffalo to Niagara Falls. But I forgot that Niagara Falls is in Canada, so I get to the border, and they wouldn't let me in because I didn't have my passport. I thought, oh, I forgot. But that would be kind of a convenient thing to just have a free flow of people and goods over the border of those countries. But Canada is significantly poorer than the United States. We had an item in our hotline the other day showing that the average person in West Virginia, which is one of our poorer states, is richer than any of the provinces of Canada.
Well, but so I mean, is that since you're part of the inner circle there of the pointy-headed econ guys? Yes, exactly. I mean, is this Trump partly trolling and having fun at Trudeau's expense, but partly something on the order of Kevin O'Leary that he really wants to contemplate maybe if a Pierre Poilievre became the PM?
Trump thinks big. He thinks outside of the box. Now, I have not talked to him about this particular issue, but it's very Trumpian, to think about, hey, maybe we could take over Greenland. Maybe we could, purchase it. Maybe we could, have this, Canada as the 51st state. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Kevin O'Leary is right. The Canadians aren't going to give up their sovereignty.
Right.
But it's in both countries' interest to have this, closer economic partnership. But Canada under Trudeau has gone in the wrong direction, Dan. They've gone in a more socialist direction, to say the least. They were crazy during COVID. Trudeau was one of the worst leaders during COVID. And Trudeau is much more of a globalist. He wants the United Nations and the World Health Organization, all these other organizations to go after countries' sovereignty. So, there's pluses and minuses of this new relationship with Canada.
I wanted to point out this op-ed you and Steve Forbes combined on in the Wall Street Journal. Yeah. I mean, it's you guys are you two radical free market guys are beating.
We've been talking about this for 35 years.
Exactly, I know you're beating the flat tax drum again. But I mean, is this something that Trump is really willing to fight for? Remind people of the proposal and then answer my question.
So here's the background on this for people who did not read the piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's got a huge amount of response, by the way. That when we did the 2017 tax cut, one of the things that we did that was kind of underappreciated, and especially for middle-class folks like me and you, is that we doubled the standard deduction. In other words, what you can do is just, instead of itemizing your deductions for charity and mortgage and all this, all you have to do is check a box, and you get, I forget the number, I think it's around $20,000, just right off the top. So right now, today, 90% of Americans do not itemize their deductions, guys. So here's a little quiz question for you. Who do you think those 10% are who do itemize their deductions?
Charles Thomas and the rich people.
Yeah, the rich people like Charles Thomas. And we're going to make Charles pay his flat tax by getting rid of all the, the still existing deductions like these. And now people in Illinois are not going to like this one too much, Dan, but getting rid of this entirely, the state and local tax deduction, because it doesn't make sense to people in low tax states like Texas. You have to subsidize people in high tax states like Illinois. And then the mortgage deduction, most people don't take the mortgage deduction. It's only people who buy the big mansions that take advantage of that. And similarly with respect to, even the charitable deduction, the evidence shows very clear that when we cut tax rates in the 1980s from 70% to 28%, meaning that the value of the charitable deduction went down, guess what happened to charitable giving, Dan and Charles?
Went up.
Went up, yeah. So people give money when they have, the disposable income to do it. So it makes so much sense to do this. Just get rid of all the remaining deductions. By the way, you got to get Bernie Sanders on your show, okay?
Yeah,
get Bernie
I'd love
Sanders
to.
on the show and ask him, hey, all you talk about is, tax cuts for the rich. The real tax cuts for the rich are these deductions. Why not make a deal with Republicans, get rid of all of them, lower the tax rate to 15%? By the way, you want to see America blow away the rest of the world? We're already doing that. But you lower our tax rate on individuals and corporations to 15%, every single penny of capital investment in the world is going to flow here. So it's an opportunity, and look, I do think it's in play.
Really? So, I mean, I agree. It would be a great policy, but the idea that Trump and Johnson and Thune will spend political capital as opposed to just sort of move along what the 2017 tax cuts to extend them, it just seems implausible to me.
Well, okay, you're cynical, and you can
Yes,
never
I am.
be cynical. You can never be cynical enough about what happens in Washington. Let me put it like that. And so it is a big jump to be able to, a big leap to be able to do something like this. But what Trump is doing, step by step, is moving us closer.
Yeah.
That was the point of our piece. He's moving us closer to the whole idea of a flat tax, one piece at a time. But it would be, and the other thing, look, a postcard tax return, it would take you an hour to fill out your taxes. You want to drain the swamp. You guys, I know you both. You want to drain the swamp. There is no better way to drain the swamp than to simplify the tax code, because most of the horse trading that goes on, guys, as you know, in Washington, is selling tax favors. Well, now you wouldn't be able to do that.
100%. I mean, I completely agree. You guys are right.
Charles, are you with me on this?
I'm with you. I
know you millionaires. I know millionaires and billionaires like you don't like to give away these.
I tell you, man, my net worth has gone up in the last 10 minutes. Hey, look, I got a question. I'm looking at the title of the article, which I haven't read, and I'll admit that the Trump economic miracle: and the plan to unleash prosperity again. Now,
yes.
How do you envision the U.S. role in a so-called, or what they're calling, the multipolar world, where China perhaps will be the largest economy in the world in a few years, India close behind? What will our role be? How will we, the United States, be a prosperous country in that context?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, that is not true. I know that some people write this. Oh, China's going to be the biggest economy in the world. No frickin' way.
Okay.
No way. If you look right now, this is the most amazing thing. If you look at the value of all companies in the world, okay, every company in the world that's publicly traded, 60% of the valuation of all publicly traded companies are in the United States. That's never happened before. We are so globally dominant right now in our companies. You guys know the Magnificent Seven. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google. I forget what the other one or two are. Those 7 companies have more market cap valuation than all the companies in all the other countries in the world. China, our market capitalization is 20 times as high as China's is. They are not catching up with us, and they've got the socialist communist model. It's not going to work. You hear it first on the Dan and Amy show with Charles. Their economy is going to crash and burn because show me anywhere, Dan, where that model works, where you have the people and government dictating the economy.
No, I agree. I wish more of the world and more of this country was paying attention to what Milei is doing in Argentina, because that's the model.
Exactly. The 2 most popular leaders in the world today globally are Milei and Donald Trump.
I wanted to get you to weigh in and perhaps adjudicate this debate. We discussed it for the hour preceding you. You know where I'm going with this. What took hold over the holidays?
I'm going to take Charles' side in this one. So go ahead.
No, well, we're Charles and I are kind of on the same side on this. But Musk and Ramaswamy versus Bannon et al. On H-1B visas, and Trump seemingly siding with Musk and Ramaswamy that the H-1B visa program is something that should stay. Not saying it can't be examined, that it can't be reconsidered and reformed in meaningful ways if there are reforms that need to be advanced. But the concept of it is good, and we're keeping it, and Bannon wants it blown up tomorrow.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you know where I am on this one. I'm a protege of the great Julian Simon, who wrote the great book, The Economic Consequences of Immigration. Immigration is a gift from the rest of the world to the United States. This call will be recorded. It is enormously beneficial to us. The H-1B program, now you're right, Dan, there's some fraud that goes on with the program and that kind of thing. But for the most part, these people who come in on H-1Bs are the people, I just mentioned the technology dominance the United States has. No other country in the world has the opportunity to bring in the top minds. And, these are the people, as Larry Kudlow calls them, brainiacs. And, why wouldn't we do this? We should vastly expand the program. We should have, as many of these smart people who want to come into the country as we possibly can get. So
well,
why we wouldn't do it.
You know what the criticism is? The criticism is what the big companies, big tech companies, big finance companies, banks, what they're doing is getting tech workers at lower salaries. So they're just reducing their labor costs. They're not necessarily increasing their talent quotient. What do you say to that?
No, I mean, the evidence shows that every H-1B creates about 2 or 3 additional jobs for Americans. This is why so many of these facilities are based in the United States, because if they can't get the foreign talent to come in here, guess what? The plants are going to leave to where, they're going to go to India and China. So, no, this is a huge, huge benefit to the United States. And, look, I'm friends with Steve Bannon. I go on his War Room show all the time. He and I argue about this all the time. I think he's a smart guy, Bannon, but I think he's completely wrong on this one.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity, again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great New Year. Take care. Bye.
You too. And Steve joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. In my 12 years of practice as a reproductive urologist, I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS. It really wasn't easy before. You had to take time out of your day, come to a physical office and see a specialist like me in person. Now, through HIMS.com, you can get world-class sexual health care and a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. It starts with a free assessment from a medical provider licensed in your state who can determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. So don't wait. Join the hundreds of thousands of guys who've gotten help for their ED through HIMS.
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Are you heading into the new year with that same old joint pain? Get moving again in 2025 with help from our very good friends at QC Kinetics. You know, everybody's doing it, including Joe Rogan, who recently mentioned his positive results from regenerative medicine on his podcast. Revitalize your joints with advanced orthobiologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No steroids, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. This is the future of medicine, using an array of natural solutions like PRP to attack the pain from arthritis. Want to learn more about how you can refresh your joints, get lasting relief with these amazing treatments? Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free with Saturday appointments available. Deal with that joint pain now so you can make the most of the new year. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, the D.C. Press Corps takes stock of the year that was for the D.C. Press Corps. We'll have some yucks over that postmortem with Gerard Baker from the Wall Street Journal. 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan and Charles, good morning. 7:33 is our time. President Biden says the man who drove through a crowded Bourbon Street in New Orleans had posted videos on social media claiming to be inspired to acts of terrorism by ISIS.
Mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill.
Meantime, officials in New Orleans say security barriers that would have protected crowds on Bourbon Street had been removed before Wednesday's attack. The barriers, called ballards, were removed because they had been malfunctioning.
The New Orleans Police Department, of course, deemed them inefficient because they did not operate the way that they were intended to do.
That's Mayor LaToya Cantrell, who said the bollards were being replaced ahead of the city hosting the Super Bowl in February. Shock and dismay in the small country of Montenegro after a gunman fatally shoots 12, including 2 children, before killing himself. Fireworks, mortars, and camp fuel canisters were found stuffed into the back of a Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside President-elect Donald Trump's Las Vegas hotel early on Wednesday. That blast killed a suspect inside that vehicle. Chicago police are increasing patrols near the Trump Tower in River North after that Cybertruck explosion. Chicago police say right now there's no evidence of any other threats in the city, but patrols are being increased. 2 are dead, 5 others wounded, all following a shooting in Kankakee. Police Chief Christopher Kidwell says shots were fired early yesterday at a rental home.
We believe that there was, shooting going back and forth between individuals inside the house. So I would say there was an excess of 30 rounds fired inside the house.
All 7 victims were hospitalized, including Quayshawn Isom and Travante Ellis, who were later pronounced dead. Area hospitals are celebrating the first babies born in 2025. Scarlett Sartori was born at 12:12 a.m. yesterday at Advocate Illinois Masonic Medical Center to Josh and Sophia Sartori of Chicago.
The kindness that we've been shown while we've been here has just been extraordinary.
We love Chicago, and we are just so excited that, again, we're able to say that we have the first Chicago baby in 25.
Just a couple of minutes later at the University of Chicago Medicine Advent Health in Hinsdale, Andy and Tiger Larson of LaGrange welcomed in Van Anthony Larson. Chicago sports. Bulls fall apart in the second half following a 125-107 loss to the Wizards. College hoops last night. DePaul fell to number 13 UConn 81-68. Bradley edged Indiana State 90-89. UIC a win over Drake 74-70. And Valpo beat Missouri State 73-72. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees relief coming.
Everything that is good about our country, they despise. They are anti-God. They are anti-patriotism. They are anti-law and order. They're anti-family. And finally, we got some normalcy coming back to the country.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, everyone. If you or someone you know were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma within the past 20 years, listen up, because you could be entitled to significant cash compensation. For years, the weed killer Roundup was used in homes, farms, and gardens, and now studies have proven a direct link between Roundup and this deadly cancer. So if you or someone you know have been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, call us and find out if you qualify for a cash settlement. 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. Time to file a claim is running out, so don't delay. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can find out if you qualify for a monetary award. Call 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. 800-842-6060. Call now.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center may not be available in all states.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I take it because it makes me feel good. I mean, so that's why I take it.
My husband is over the moon about it, so I'm reordering.
I feel better.
He's been on it for 8 months, if not longer. He took it for a while, for like 3 or 4 months, and then he stopped taking it. And then once he stopped taking it, he's like, I need that back again. So we started doing it again. But I'm telling you what, it's amazing stuff. It truly, truly is.
Happy New Year! Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
7:40 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Online at papanicholas.com. Tri-State northbound, you've got an accident blocking 2 left lanes. It's northbound on 294 just after St. Charles. Southbounders on the Tri-State, even bigger delays. You've got an accident blocking 3 right-hand lanes. That is southbound 294 approaching Halstead. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy with a little late afternoon snow, high 32. Will clear for the early evening, then snow returns overnight, a low of 17. Mostly cloudy and 25 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J. This morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Yep, that's me.
And Charles, I know you're going to be tickled by this review in particular. Some of your former brethren in the Fourth Estate, including this panel on Face the Nation, where they discuss, very soberly, at least they present as such, the stories we underreported, because they're always trying to do better, because they come from a place, we're supposed to believe, of true interest in comforting the afflicted and afflicting the comfortable, as Finley Peter Dunn used to say. They want to enlighten Americans, to offer them a better understanding of the world. They're not political hacks in service of particular candidates in a political party. No, perish the thought. So Jen Crawford kicks off this discussion, and Robert Costa closes it. Jan Crawford kicks it off. Robert Costa closes it. Robert Costa, boy, his journey from National Review to the WAPO to CBS News. Very interesting. The most underreported story in 2024.
That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned. And, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years, and yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary for the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election. Yeah. Yet, still, incredibly, we read in the Washington Post that his advisors are saying that he regrets that he dropped out of the race. That he thinks he could have beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
President Biden has said repeatedly he was sick during the debate June 27th in Atlanta, and he's always been fine, and he leaves fine. That is his position, the position of many of his top aides as well, even though there is that reporting.
Robert Costa.
Well, thank you for
who
reminding
was that
us
last voice?
Robert Costa. Thank you for reminding us of the official position. Thank you for restating it. Very dutiful of Robert Costa.
Yeah, he sounded he sounds a lot like Stephanopoulos.
Yeah, he sounds like he should be on Russia Today or This Week, which is indistinguishable, at least in terms of demeanor, in terms of approach to news reporting. So just to point out, this Jan Crawford, I keep saying Jan Crawford line of argumentation, God, in retrospect, we missed that one.
Yeah,
we missed that one. Except after the debate, even if you accept the the run up to the debate, which I don't, but after the debate, they were still, Jan Crawford and her comrades in the D.C. press corps were still allowing the Ally Mayorkases and the Kamala Harrises and all the flacks for the administration, KJP, to say the same thing they were saying before the debate. It didn't get any more probing, even despite Jan Crawford saying after the debate, it was obvious he didn't have the mental capacity to continue. But just a little refresher on what it was like pre as well as post June debate.
But
does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused.
Right up until he no longer possessed any of those things. They decided he didn't possess any of those things. And then the D.C. press corps dutifully pushed that narrative because they served as the comm shop for the Democrat Party, which that's what they are.
And, the thing that really strikes me about the panel discussion is that those people speak of themselves as though they are the be-all, end-all. Like they don't understand that there is another world out there in the media, actually, and they think of themselves as the end of it. That whatever they say goes. I mean, you were saying it. We were saying it on this program that Joe Biden had lost it. I mean, years ago.
Right. We didn't need. I mean, all the Wall Street Journal did before Christmas in that article we recounted, which was good reporting, was confirm what we all knew to be true, which is that he wasn't fit for the job, and all the people around him knew it because it was so patently obvious, and he made it obvious with, every other utterance in public life. So this was not some riddle to be solved, something that could be missed by anybody who was paying even passing attention. And so this sort of, like you're saying, this sort of self-referential pablum about, gosh, in retrospect, the only thing that they are upset about, Jan Crawford and gang, in retrospect, is that the outcome was not what they desired. In retrospect, we should have pushed him out earlier so we could have had a primary. But, we went along with the official story. And then when he was pushed out, we went along with the next official story. And maybe like George Clooney, we feel a little bit bad about how it turned out for us. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Gerard Baker, editor-at-large, Wall Street Journal, author of American Breakdown, Why We No Longer Trust Our Leaders and Institutions and How We Can Rebuild Confidence. No, there couldn't be a book with a more timely title and topic than that. Gerard Baker, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year. And so this, it's a sort of not really a mea culpa, but it's sort of, gosh, we could do better. Kind of, this is their overture to try to, salvage some credibility. That's the one play. And then the other play from those same sorts from the establishment legacy media in D.C. is like the Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post or the Never Trumpers that just continue to ridicule Trump voters as being sort of, inbred, knuckle-dragging illiterates.
Yeah, I mean, the Biden incapacity stuff that you've talked about, it's actually even worse than you've described it. You've described it very well, but it's even worse than that because it's not as Jan Crawford kind of implied that somehow they missed it. You know what I mean? They did that.
Yeah.
They just, they were working on other things and they were just doing so much, and it was, they're really, really pressed, and somehow this story just somehow passed them by. There were stories that were done, and let me, give more credit to my colleagues at the Wall Street Journal who wrote a story in early June, I think it was June the 7th, 3 weeks before that debate, in which they wrote a long front-page story which quoted mostly anonymous people, to be fair, but there were some people on the record saying that Biden was slipping, that he had been for some time, that he was not sharp, that foreign leaders were concerned about him. There were lots and lots of evidence in that story through this full debate. The response to that story, Dan, from much of the media was, this is outrageous, it's biased, it's Rupert Murdoch's newspaper having a go at Joe Biden. And do you remember the deep fake stuff? I mean, when people showed those videos of Biden, wandering off, at the G7 meeting or the NATO meeting, and they showed him doing, clearly losing his thread. Do you remember when he was handheld off the stage by Barack Obama? There were claims in the media, instead of just, oh, sorry, we missed this story, we didn't see it. They actively trashed the reporting that said Biden wasn't up to it. You can go back and look in the days after that Wall Street Journal report, and you can see on CNN, in some of the newspapers, people saying this is disgraceful reporting. Biden is as sharp as a tack. He's completely capable. This is a hit job by the Wall Street Journal. So it's much, much worse than just, oh my goodness, we just so sorry we missed this story, as you rightly ridicule. They actively went out of their way to collude with the White House in undermining reporters who were trying to do the story, saying that Joe Biden was actually no longer capable of doing the job.
Right. And then they followed that up by actively working to advance Kamala's, policy makeover when she became the nominee.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean, the way, look, the media, we've had this conversation many times before, Dan, and I'm happy to have it again, but in the last 10 years, we've always discussed media bias, and we know there's always been media bias, and it's always gone predominantly in one direction. But the last 10 years has seen, I do think, and thank you for mentioning my book, because I talk about this in my book, has seen really the collapse of any sort of sense of media credibility for most of the media today. And by the way, the best testament to that is Donald Trump. And, you and I had many conversations about Donald Trump too. I'm not his biggest fan. He's got many flaws. But they set out to destroy Donald Trump in 2015 when he came down that escalator at Trump Tower in 2015. They set out to destroy him from, using fair means and mostly foul. The Russia collusion story, misrepresenting what he said, about Charlottesville. Every single thing that they did, they tried to destroy him. And what's the outcome of all that effort for 10 years? Dan, Donald Trump is stronger than he has ever been. He got more votes than he'd ever got. He's got a higher approval rating he's ever got. He's back in the White House in 3 weeks' time. So I just say that as testament to the fact that the media's credibility is completely destroyed because they have spent 10 years trying to destroy the political career, and in many ways actually trying to incarcerate the man, and he ends up being stronger than he's ever been. I can't think of a better evidence, and you mentioned Kamala Harris too, and their attempts to sort of shove her over the line into the White House. I can't think of better evidence that most of the American people, I'm afraid, have just stopped even paying attention to much of what the media says.
I would say the same thing too about some of the sort of legacy Republicans that behave in a lot of the similar ways to legacy media. And I'm sorry to say it includes some people that I used to like my brother in broadcast to the north, Charlie Sykes. But the Never Trumpers behaved almost as shamefully as most of them, almost as shamefully as the D.C. press corps. And they're a big loser in this, too. And anybody sort of now within the Republican Party who affiliates with that sort of element of quislings within the party is a complete non-starter.
Yeah, look, Donald Trump, one of the things, was it Napoleon said about his generals, the things he would ask about his generals was, is he lucky? Donald Trump is, as well as having many, many talents and many, many flaws, he's an extraordinarily lucky man. And one of the aspects of that luck is the luck in his enemies. His enemies constantly overreach. Again, you and I have talked about this. There's lots of things you can say about Donald Trump that, you can legitimately object to and you legitimately not like. But somehow, for whatever reason, those people you described, the Never Trump types, the sort of the Bill Cristols and that ridiculous outfit, the Lincoln Project, or, you talk about Charlie Sykes and others like that, people who were, hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool, supposedly Republicans who supported Republican candidates in the past, you're right, they joined in with the media, not just in pointing out Donald Trump's flaws, which is a legitimate thing to do, but in going way, way, way beyond that and going over the top and ultimately, putting out, again, joining in this campaign to try to destroy him, in the process, putting out huge amounts of falsehoods, saying things that were just not true, exaggerate everything they, again, and I go back to that, I mentioned it just initially, but to me, one of the turning points was that Charlottesville comment that he made in 2017 after that woman was killed in Charlottesville, and there was that protest and that went sort of that violent protest in Charlottesville. And he famously said, that he condemned the neo-Nazis and he condemned everybody else, and that continues to be reported by the media to this day, as he said there was good on both sides, and also by all of those people you've described, those Republicans who've been trying to pull him down. And that, to me, again, just emphasizes how people have just lost all faith and trust in those people, and are willing to go with a man who, isn't flawed in many ways, but they see his enemies and they think, well, if they're just going to prepare, if they are guilty of the same worse versions of the same accusations that they make against Donald Trump himself, and so, they have completely destroyed their credibility.
Are you as optimistic as many that the election results, Trump's victory and Republicans' control of the House and the Senate, are signaling a move away from identitarian politics and so-called wokeism?
Very much so, yeah. I think there are going to be lots of problems ahead. We already got a little taste of that at the end of the year, didn't we, with the fight over the budget, over the debt ceiling limit, and there's going to be lots of that, and with an even smaller majority in the House, there's going to be challenges ahead. It's not going to be smooth sailing for what Trump wants to do by any means, and that's the way democracy works. That's the way it should be. But your point about about the significance of the election, and what it means for the for the rejection, in terms of the rejection of those politics, those identity politics that we've had. I am very optimistic. I think there are, and you're seeing it, you're not really seeing it yet in the Democrats. You're seeing some Democrats saying this, and that's a good thing. Some of them are starting to come, you've heard, from people, people like John Fetterman, the Pennsylvania senator. I think you're going to hear it from some more Democrats in the course of the next few months. Not enough yet, but I think that people, who pushed that agenda, or rather those people who have gone along with that agenda for the last few years, realizing that it's gone too far, that it's alienated people, and that people want to restore, the value, so many of the values of this country, which have been rejected in the last decade or so. So I do, in that respect at least, I'm very optimistic that I think the election result is a signal, at least, that this country is moving in the right direction.
Gerard Baker, editor-at-large, Wall Street Journal, author of American Breakdown, Why We No Longer Trust Our Leaders and Institutions and How We Can Rebuild Confidence. Gerard, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Charles.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt, and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
At 8:08, we'll return to our review of the terrorist attack in New Orleans and the Cybertruck bombing in Vegas with retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent James Gagliano. That's James Gagliano at 8:08. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, Chicago police say they're increasing patrols near the Trump Tower here in Chicago after that Las Vegas truck explosion. A man is shot during an armed robbery on Chicago's South Side. 2 are dead, 5 are wounded in a Kankakee shooting. The White Sox have acquired Tyler Gilbert from the Phillies. The Bulls lose to the Wizards. College hoops tonight. Number 20 Illinois at Oregon, and Northwestern takes on Penn State. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
It's the day after in New Orleans. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We've got 100 military police officers that are on the ground. Our sheriffs from around the state have sent additional resources. The FBI has been pouring resources into this city.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry on Fox also offering condolences to the 15 people killed and dozens injured in the early New Year's Day terror attack when a driver drove a rented truck through a crowd on Bourbon Street.
Each of those is a reminder of the terrorism that exists and people and the evil out there that they want to afflict on America.
The driver was shot and killed by police.
42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, an Army veteran who at one point had deployed to Afghanistan. Police say an ISIS flag was found on that truck that he drove. Police in Houston, meantime, are searching what is believed to be the driver's home there, looking for any evidence and any possible links to a wider plot.
Fox's Doug Luzader. Police also found improvised explosive devices. Also part of the investigation, if there's any link to the explosion in Las Vegas, also early New Year's Day, when a cyber truck blew up outside the Trump International Hotel.
It is believed the driver was a Colorado Springs native with military experience. The person was killed in that explosion. 7 others were hurt. Authorities say they found gas and camp fuel canisters as well as large firework mortars in the truck.
Fox's Chanley Painter. Both trucks in New Orleans and Las Vegas were rented using the same service, Turo, which is like an Airbnb for private vehicles. The FBI will be briefing lawmakers this morning in the House, the day before the next Congress takes over. With the House electing a new speaker, Mike Johnson hopes to retain the job, telling Fox,
I'm humbled and honored to have President Trump's endorsement for the role again, as well as the endorsement of leaders across the conservative spectrum and the Republican Party.
But at least one GOP lawmaker plans to vote against Johnson. Only one more Republican no vote will be a defeat for the speaker. America's listening to Fox News.
24 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police are increasing patrols in and around the Trump Tower in River North after that Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside a Trump location in Las Vegas. The incident happened yesterday. This morning, Chicago police say right now there's no evidence of any threat involving Chicago or anywhere else in the city around Trump Tower, but patrols are being increased. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded, all following a shooting in Kankakee.
We believe that there was, shooting going back and forth between individuals inside the house. So I would say there was an excess of 30 rounds fired inside the house.
2 are dead, 5 others wounded. Police Chief Christopher Kidwell says those shots were fired during a New Year's party at a rented home in the 1800 block of Pearson Parkway. And funeral plans have been announced after an Illinois State Trooper was struck and killed on Monday night. Illinois State Trooper Clay Carnes was removing debris from the highway when he was struck by a pickup truck. The driver of that truck, identified as John Fleet, did remain at the scene, but faces a Scots law charge and other citations. The funeral services will be held at Parkview Christian Church in Orland Park. Visitation today, the funeral tomorrow. The Bulls lost to the Wizards last night, 125-107. College football, 2 more programs punching their ticket to the playoff semifinals. Texas, a winner at the Peach Bowl, and Ohio State at the Rose Bowl. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Online at papanicholas.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Crude oil prices have nudged higher this morning. Brent crude, the global benchmark, has topped $75. The reason? Optimism about China's economy after the nation's annual address. And China's manufacturing data this week is suggesting its economy is improving for a third consecutive month. China's BYD sold a record number of electric and hybrid cars last month, more than 514,000. China's EV makers are being boosted by a government trade-in program in China. Tesla also reports its December delivery numbers today. Nvidia shares are higher this morning. Barron's is expecting another strong year for the chip maker, which is seeing demand for more uses of artificial intelligence. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
AM 560 news time is 8:05. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This week on The Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
That the ICC would take this outrageous action for which they have no jurisdiction whatsoever, but they are acting in violation of our sovereignty and in violation of the principles of due process, and it is a very dangerous situation.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on The Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I take it because it makes me feel good. I mean, so that's why I take it.
My husband is over the moon about it, so I'm reordering.
I feel better.
He's been on it for 8 months, if not longer. He took it for a while, for like 3 or 4 months, and then he stopped taking it. And then once he stopped taking it, he was like, I need that back again. So we started doing it again. But I'm telling you what, it's amazing stuff. It truly, truly is.
Happy New Year. Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
It's 8:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecas.com. Traveling on the north side of Chicago Gold Coast neighborhood, State Street shut down between Walton and Rush due to a high-rise fire. Chicago police are striking that scene, but cleanup continues and trucks are still in the way. Tri-State, an accident, a new one, 2 left lanes blocked northbound at St. Charles. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, mostly cloudy and some snow late this afternoon, high 32. Cloudy snow early this evening, then breezy tonight, low 17. Sunny, breezy, cold day tomorrow, the high at 26. Sunny cloud Saturday, high 23. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Mostly cloudy and 25 right now. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Good morning.
And Charles, we're revisiting what we began the show with today, which is an unfortunate way to begin 2025, but the terrorist attack in New Orleans, early morning hours on New Year's Day, a terrorist, clearly ISIS-inspired, that ran his F-150 through a crowd gathered on Bourbon Street celebrating the new year, killing 15, injuring another 30. This was...
The big question has to be, who else was involved in this? Were there any other people involved in it? And where'd they come from?
Well, there are a lot of questions, both in terms of the preparation for New Year's in New Orleans, as well as the post-mortem investigation. Here, just to give you some flavors, there were some eyewitness accounts. People shared what happened. It's rather horrifying.
He's coming up all onto the sidewalk and all that, but by that time we had already made it inside the divot, or is what I thought. Until once we get inside the divot and the car passes, I turned around to look who's all in here, because it was supposed to be 3 of us. I turned around to look who's all in here, and I don't see my friend. And I just start screaming and yelling, and I'm like, nah, where are you? And I turn and I look in the street, and her right leg is flipped like horror movie style over her back, and it's just blood.
Another eyewitness.
We ducked off into a nightclub real quick, and within 2 minutes of walking in, 4 or 5 girls come running in, push past security, and hide under tables. Me and my friend living here, kind of knowing what's what and things that have been on the news, we didn't take any chances. We ran upstairs to the balcony area that we knew was there. And when we got up there, it wasn't anyone chasing anybody. It was just unimaginable casualty. I mean, just the disfigurement and the bodies strewn, something you can't unsee, you'll never forget. We counted around 8 bodies very quickly, right in our area. One gentleman crushed, had tire tracks across his back. Once they rolled him over, he had tire tracks on his front. He was completely crushed. Another girl, small girl, was dancing when we were coming up the street, and she was just completely flat in the middle, dead center middle. Another woman just brutally run over, but still agonizing. I'm certified in CPR and first responder training, and they wouldn't let us help. They locked us all inside, which is understandable, but nobody else was helping. So that was even tougher. But just the fact that these people are somebody's people and they're not going to be there this morning is rough.
I mean, not to be graphic, but just so the depravity of this terrorist act is not lost in the conversations about the behavior of public officials, law enforcement, both pre this attack as well as post this attack, because, of course, we have to address that, too. Among the questions, in addition to what you said, Charles, about whether this individual had co-conspirators, which there seems to be some evidence. Federal law enforcement is saying they believe he did not act alone. But the barriers that were removed from Bourbon Street in November and replaced on New Year's Day with just orange cones that the terrorist assailant easily drove around and then conducted his rampage. What was the decision making there?
Well, he had to know that they weren't there. I mean, he probably cased the situation and, hey, I can drive this way. I can go this route to get to the most people. I would think. I mean, he seems like a fairly intelligent guy, the way he has spoken in previously recorded posts on social media.
Well, not to mention a guy with 15 years in the military and an IT and logistics background.
Yeah.
I mean, he drove from Houston to New Orleans with clearly intent in mind. He posted videos before the attack that pledged allegiance to ISIS, that threatened to kill his family. He has 2 daughters in addition to 2 ex-wives. And to your point about the videos he posted online in which he comes across as intelligent and normal, a video that everybody's been talking about, we played earlier from 4 years ago, where he's presenting his wares as a real estate agent. So how does somebody that's embarking upon a career in real estate, post-military, apparently, go from that 4 years ago to the atrocities he committed a little bit more than 24 hours ago? For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent and a doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's University. He also serves as the mayor of the village of Cornwall-on-the-Hudson, New York, and on the board of directors of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. James, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan and Charles, good to join you.
Good morning.
It wasn't once again under such, somber circumstances 2 days after, we ushered in the new year.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions Charles and I both had, we discussed earlier, was the FBI's initial response was this was not a terrorist attack. The mayor's initial response, Mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, was this is a terrorist attack. And the announcement came from both of those individuals a good 10 hours after the terrorist attack had been committed, where FBI knew that there was an ISIS flag. They had to know about the videos I mentioned that were posted before the attack. So why would an FBI rep say no terrorist attack?
Yeah, well, Dan, I think you know me long enough to know that I don't shill, and that I try to look at the facts and the evidence in front of me, and I try to call things square. 25 years in the FBI, certainly have allegiances to the agency and certainly believe it is still the premier law enforcement agency in the world. However, I know the special agent in charge of the New Orleans field office, and his name is Lionel Murthel, and he worked for me a number of years ago in a Safe Streets Task Force. Good man. I'm unsure the reason why he was not the front person. Typically it's a senior official in an FBI division. In this case, it was an assistant special agent in charge. I do not know her. I don't want to pander to your audience and play terrorism has a distinct legal definition. We want to be very careful, and that is all true. I just think that was a case of inexperience and glaring inexperience. And obviously, as an assistant special agent in charge, she should be good in front of the camera. She should have a command of all the facts. And she has the full public affairs office of the New Orleans division, as well as FBI headquarters. So, Dan, to answer your question succinctly, clearly an unforced error.
Yeah. Now, okay. I mean, it's fair enough. I guess the FBI will have to explain to us, or maybe not, depending on their attitude, why that error was committed. What about the issue of the bollards that were there on Bourbon Street, these hydraulic barriers? But the story was they were getting replaced because they were not up to standard for the Super Bowl coming in February. But as Charles and I discussed, I mean, the Sugar Bowl, not to mention New Year's Eve in New Orleans, is treated like the Super Bowl. So how do you pull those out and then just have cones and a police car there that, as we saw from the video, the attacker easily got around, and not replace them immediately? And whose decision is that when you're talking about security for a national event? And I mean the Sugar Bowl, for example. Is that a local law enforcement call? Should we be asking the mayor and the local police chief about that? Is that a combination of local, state, federal? What is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer in the latter. It would be a combination. Now, every football game, every college football game is not considered an NSSE, which is a National Special Security event. Obviously, something like a presidential inauguration, the Super Bowl, opening day at Yankee Stadium, those are all events that would command the full force of everything within the Department of Homeland Security, and obviously in coordination with federal agencies, state, and locals. In this instance, I'm unsure, but I do not believe that, say, New Year's Eve revelers on Bourbon Street would be an NSSE. You couldn't possibly do that. I have a 3,000-person village that I serve as mayor of up in upstate New York. And a number of years ago, when I won my first election, and being a retired FBI guy, I came in and I said, hey, when we do our ball drop, we attract 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 people to it. We are no longer doing this without blocking the streets off. Now, I don't have a budget to put in concrete bollards or the hydraulic lift bollards that were the example that were not raised in this instance on Bourbon Street. But I insisted that we bring our fire department apparatus, our sanitation trucks, our heavy equipment and earth movers, and block off streets. Look, the bottom line is we don't even know if this is what the terrorist initial intentions were to do this. He could have had another target plan and just looked for, as we say in the business, a soft target of opportunity. And I'll close with this. Terrorists they're like criminals, and they're exactly like water. They follow the path of least resistance. If you lock your car doors, it doesn't guarantee your vehicle is not going to get broken into and your contents of your glove box rifle through. But if you leave it unlocked, you just make it more likely to happen. And in this instance, did he know that they were going to be down in advance, or was this just happenstance? He was driving around looking for a target and then saw an opportunity to drive around a police vehicle and take advantage of the fact that the bollards were not erected.
But if it wasn't an SSE, even with the Sugar Bowl there, part of the bowl series with Notre Dame and Georgia and people coming in from all over the country for that game, if it wasn't that, then the fact that those barriers were removed and that they were not replaced is entirely a city of New Orleans issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, going back to 2005 and the Katrina response, everyone wanted to, rain holy hell down on George W. Bush and FEMA and the White House and the federal response. But you had a state governor who was in charge, and you had a mayor of New Orleans who was in charge. So yes, ultimately the security in New Orleans, it begins, and I don't want to say ends, but it begins with the mayor. It's obviously also underneath the control of the state governor, and then in concert with the feds when it's an NSSE. So yes, there should be enough blame to go around here.
The attacker and the radicalization. His brother spoke to the press, but really didn't say much about what happened to his brother, other than to say, what he did is not representative of Islam. Okay, fine. That's not what we're interested in. We're interested in how somebody like an individual, 42-year-old man who served in the military for 15 years, talked about how proud he was of that service, posting videos 4 years ago about, being in the real estate business like a normal person, and then he does that, how that can happen. And as we talked about sort of in the post 9/11 era, how federal law enforcement can do a better job, even though I understand it's, impossible to be 100%, in identifying people that have been radicalized by whatever means and have plans for these sort of mass attacks.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're raising a much bigger argument or issue here, which is the continuum of, do you want complete security, which we all do, but do you also cherish the Fourth Amendment, and do you cherish civil liberties, and you want to live in a free society? And we have to find that middle balance. Look, this guy was a U.S. citizen, so that doesn't restrict what we can do post-boom or after the incident in how we follow up and prosecute. However, pre-boom, to the left of boom or to the left of the incident, it makes it more difficult because you can't eavesdrop on somebody without a warrant, and it's much more difficult to do that, to gather and collect information and data, from cell phones and digital exhaust. If somebody is not connected to a foreign terror organization, which gives us a much broader Patriot Act type of response. So that's going to hinder things a little bit. Why wasn't he on our radar? It's a tough one. I mean, it's a country now of, 340 million people. We know that the borders are porous. Hopefully that ends after January 20th, because we've got a 5,000-mile border between us and Canada and a 2,000-mile border between us and Mexico. And hopefully when those get sealed, or at least sealed better, we will limit the opportunities for people to come in to harm us. But this guy, and you pointed out at the top, Dan, there's two ways that this could have happened with an ISIS affiliation. Was it directed or inspired? And you mentioned inspired. That's what it appears to be right now. However, as the FBI and law enforcement begin digging deeper, we may find out that this, like you pointed out earlier, there were more co-conspirators, and maybe it was a direction. Those things are all going to come out, and I think they'll come out fairly soon.
What do you think about that Cybertruck bombing in outside of the Trump Hotel in Vegas? What's your intuition on that? I mean, clearly, from the evidence in the trunk of the Cybertruck, it was intentional. It seems like a suicide bomber. The one person killed was in the driver's seat. Do you have any sort of intuition about that?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I know there's some people that are, suggesting, no, it's just a coincidence. Other people are looking at it and saying, oh, no, this must have been connected, happened on the same day. This one looked to be more for performative theater. And look, only the alleged attacker, the person that actually was immolated or died of the overpressure and the explosion from the fireworks and fuel and other things that he had in the back of that Tesla fire truck. But this looked like more of a statement where I'm going to park this Tesla representing Elon Musk in front of Trump Tower or Trump Hotel, representing obviously the president that probably we're going to find out this individual was opposed to, and not in an instance where you were looking to take a heavy casualty count. Counter to what we saw in New Orleans, where the individual was armed with a rifle and a pistol, and obviously got into a shootout with police before he was taken down, and murdered 15 people, with many still in critical condition. So that was an instance where he was looking to ratchet a body count up. Now, could they be connected? Hard to say at this juncture. Looks unlikely to me, in two different styles, it appears, or approach. But both of them fit the metrics of the definition of terrorism.
James Gagliano, retired FBI supervisory special agent, doctoral candidate in Homeland Security at St. John's University. He also, as you mentioned, is the mayor of Village of Cornwall-on-Hudson, New York, and he's on the board of directors of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. James Gagliano, thank you again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Guys, thanks for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
What's on your wrist, Ben?
A watch.
The other wrist.
Oh, I'm handcuffed to a briefcase containing secret plans.
Why?
We can't let these secret plans fall into the wrong hands.
What secret plans?
This briefcase contains the specifications for the mother of all penny mustard bedroom collections.
The colonial bedroom?
Quiet, Nicole.
It's no secret the colonial bedroom is gorgeous.
American made with solid wood and forever tight bed brackets.
And the drawer bottom's strong enough to stand on.
Will you please keep it down?
In Penny Mustard's 3-decade existence, there's never been a bedroom more carefully constructed than the Colonial Collection.
Precisely why these trade secrets need to stay under wraps.
Heck no. We need to tell the world about the Colonial Bedroom.
You'd make a terrible spy, Arvid.
The Colonial Bedroom, starting at just $248 a month with only 1 penny down and no interest till January of 2028 through January 5th at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I take it because it makes me feel good. I mean, so that's why I take it.
My husband is over the moon about it, so I'm reordering.
I feel better.
He's been on it for 8 months, if not longer. He took it for a while, for like 3 or 4 months, and then he stopped taking it. And then once he stopped taking it, he's like, I need that back again. So we started doing it again. But I'm telling you what, it's amazing stuff. It truly, truly is.
Happy New Year! Start the year right and get big savings on Balance of Nature supplements with our limited time New Year's deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive New Year's offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Charles Thomas in for Amy J this morning. At 8:38, we'll end the program with something a bit lighter. That's appropriate. Christian Toto, Hollywood and Toto, joins us to talk about the year in film 2024 and Whitney Cummings on CNN's New Year's Eve celebration, which was surprisingly entertaining. That's at 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
8:32, 24 degrees, a bit of sunshine right now. The U.S. Army veteran who drove a pickup truck into a crowd of New Year's revelers in New Orleans and posted videos to social media hours before the carnage, saying he was inspired by the terror group Islamic State. This witness, Alex Mitchell, said he had no idea what was going on at the time of the attack.
It's hard to see that. It's really hard to see that and know other people won't see their families again, or they won't see their loved ones. It's just terrible.
FBI spokesperson Althea Duncan said yesterday there was an ISIS flag found on the trailer hitch of that pickup truck used, and investigators do not believe the suspect in the case acted alone. Las Vegas police say the same car renting app that was used in the New Orleans attack was also used in the Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion. Las Vegas Metro Police Department Sheriff Kevin McMahill.
I have authorized what we call an ABX roster to continue for the next 2 days, which is my New Year's Eve staffing plan of over 1,000 officers, both in our community neighborhoods as well as on the Strip and downtown. in partnership with all of the other law enforcement agencies.
Las Vegas authorities this morning say the vehicles used in both attacks were rented through the Turo car renting app. Right now, authorities believe it may be a coincidence. This morning, Ford is recalling 300,000 diesel trucks because of a defective fuel pump. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said the pump could cause a loss of power. Chicago police are increasing their patrols near the Trump Tower here in River North after that Tesla Cybertruck explosion. 2 are dead, 5 others are wounded following a shooting in Kankakee. 1 person has been taken into custody. They were found hiding near the home. A Chicago teen is back in the U.S. after being shot in Mexico last week. Jason Pena has been in a coma since last Friday's shooting, which left his father and uncle dead. Homeowners may have escaped a property tax hike in Chicago, but the pocketbooks will still be hit in other ways in the new year. New taxes and fees, all expected to generate $181 million. Alderman Bill Conway doesn't like the way Mayor Brandon Johnson balanced his budget.
Most of this budget is really being balanced with extra fees and taxes and being balanced on the back of working families, and I don't think that's right.
Annual parking permits are up to $30 in 2025. They'll cost $35 next year. Temporary parking permits also are more expensive at $15. Chicago sports. Bulls lost to Washington 125-107. Notre Dame's college football playoff game against Georgia in New Orleans postponed yesterday. Tentatively, the game is scheduled to begin at 3 p.m. today. College football playoff semifinal tickets punch for Texas and Ohio State. College basketball last night. DePaul lost to UConn. Bradley edged Indiana State. UIC took down Drake. And the PGA tees it up for the first time in 2025 in Hawaii when the Century gets underway at Kapalua. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, the offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
We've started a new year. There's a buzz in the air. With the new incoming administration, what expectations do you have? Will we see a turnaround in the economy? Will inflation come down? And is there a way to stop the chaos on our southern border? Yeah, 2025 comes with some big expectations. And we're here to keep track of the goals. Here's to a great new year together. AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba. With cold and flu season, now is the time to ensure you're building an effective immune system. Zinc is so critical for every function of your body, especially your immune defense. And there's no better way to check your zinc levels than our zinc tally test. First, we'll test you in our offices, and then you get to take your very own zinc tally test home with you, and once a week, watch your steady progress. Can't get to our offices for your first zinc tally test? No problem. We'll ship a kit to you. It's so fast and simple to use with quick results in just seconds, with you not having to pay for those blood tests to check for zinc deficiencies, which most of us probably are deficient. So call our Health Quest radio hotline at 800-794-1855 to order yours today. And listen to Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, this Saturday morning at 11. Call 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
840, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. All a service of Rapid Radio's push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business owners can keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping. Inbound on the Kennedy, you've got delays between Belmont and Chicago Avenue. Stevenson jamming up Ashland into the Dan Ryan. Tri-State, an accident leaving two left lanes blocked. This is northbound at St. Charles. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Sun and clouds for the morning, cloudy in the afternoon with a bit of snow, high 32. Currently, we have clear to partly cloudy and 25. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Charles, did you catch the Rockin' New Year's Eve on CNN?
No,
Yeah.
didn't make that one.
No, I don't think many people did. I didn't, but I did see enough clips of comedian Whitney Cummings online to be pleasantly surprised that she was included. You know, Whitney Cummings, I mean, there's the sitcom that was supposed to be her star turn was really lame, and, you know, she's a female stand-up comedian, so how funny can she be? You can email me directly for all the people that are outraged by my misogyny when it comes to women in comedy. But on New Year's Eve on CNN, she was actually quite sharp, and she made Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, aren't they cute?
They are cute, aren't they?
They're darling. It made those two blanch quite a number of times. For example, Whitney Cummings on What We All Know to Be True from 2024.
Point is, I think we all agree on a lot of things. And since I only have a minute left live on establishment media, why don't we just say a bunch of things that we know that they'll never cover? Okay, ready, go. Trump Jr. didn't have any silverware in his house. No one thought that was weird? Are we still rolling? Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia put money into Disney, so just know there won't be any girl characters in the next Cars movie. Are we still rolling? This is wild. Okay, why have so many presidents' chefs died? Weird. Boy Scout of America, they renamed itself Scouting America. You know who else changed their name? Sean Combs. Just saying. Let's learn something in 2025. I can't believe you guys are still letting me go. This is amazing. I love CNN. Please stop me, Andy, because I will just keep going.
Happy New Year, Whitney Cummings.
Am I still streaming?
Yes.
This is amazing.
Boy Scouts of America and P. Diddy. Boy, I wasn't going to make that connection. Very good.
Man, that guy Andy, what's his? Not
Andy Cohen.
Oh man, does he?
He is quite flamboyant.
I can't handle him. Man.
Yeah.
I can't handle him. He does he does those housewife shows, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's a homeboy. He's from St. Louis, man. Well, like
is
me.
he?
Yeah,
What, two peas in a pod.
Yeah, but this guy, he's an embarrassment, man.
I remember him, Millionaire Matchmaker. He used to do interview Patty Stanger for Millionaire Matchmaker. That was one of my guilty pleasures back in the day when that was popular.
Yeah, when you were popular.
Yeah, right. So more Whitney Cummings, something actually entertaining. So what we all know, we all agree on a lot of things. Whitney Cummings sounds like she got red-pilled sometime either before or after she became a mom.
Let me be clear, though. 2024 was not only negative. The media wants us to believe this country is so divided, but we actually came together a lot this year. As a nation, we unanimously agreed that we would rather see J-Lo in a toxic relationship than in concert. We all agree the government totally knows what drones are and are telling us. The drones are still up there, and we have no idea what's behind them. No idea. I mean, they're still up in the sky, so I guess we can rule out that they were made by Boeing. The point is, I think we all agree on a lot of things.
Andy Cohen was confused by the Boeing jab, but that was pretty good. It was very topical. And finally, on the 2024 election, her best work.
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's. Oh, God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
Oh, I can't do that.
I love around the country because you see that Americans really are more reasonable than they would be portrayed.
Absolutely,
They're pretty great, and I'm
100%
playing bigger and bigger venues now. I thought being a mom would mean that less people would want to come see me. I'm now playing, 3,000 seat theaters,
awesome.
which is about the viewership of CNN these days.
Well,
Not
nice.
this show, though.
Nice.
All eyes are on this show.
Wow, you're all firing.
Andy and I had a tour. We did 3,000 seats. Yes.
Yeah, boy, the Andy and Anderson Cooper tour.
Yeah, I think that's her last go round at CNN, rocking New Year's Eve.
Yeah, just nice to see Whitney Cummings' evolution a little bit. For more on that and other matters cinematic, we're pleased to be joined by Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast. That's Hollywood in Toto, TOTO.com. Christian, thanks for joining us again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, boy, a few clips really captured 2024. I mean, the fact that it came at the very end of the year was maybe even more special. But boy, you could write a thesis on everything that she said and the revelations and her reaction and the fact that all that is true. And that's the funniest part of all.
Yeah, she's been gearing up while she's been maybe flying under the radar a little bit, playing smaller venues, as she mentioned. Her work product has improved greatly from what I remember from sitcom Whitney Cummings.
Yeah, and her reaction was so interesting. She was so fearful that they would cut her mic, that they would somehow switch to any other topic. I mean, that's where we've been for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, where you couldn't even tell satirical jokes on TV. You couldn't share a glimmer of the truth. And, for those CNN viewers, that might be the first time they've heard those thoughts. And that's the scariest part.
Yeah, right. Well, making comedy great again, right? That's the first thing that, we've talked about this before, where and some who have been courageous enough to speak out in the entertainment world have said as much, where you have this totalitarian culture. It's it's as much as Dalton Trumbo experienced back in the blacklisting days.
Is CNN trying to rehabilitate itself? I mean, I've seen some of the panel discussions involving this guy Jennings. Is it Scott
Jennings?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they let him say stuff now that's right on point. But
I don't know. Every time I think that the media is trying to course correct, I get dozens and dozens of examples where they're clearly not trying to course correct. So I think there's maybe a part of their journalistic souls that realize how badly they performed, but I don't think they were committed to the task of actually delivering hard news. And just an example from my website, Hollywood and Toto, I wrote about how the media basically ignored all those truth bombs that Whitney Cummings dropped. A couple different outlets covered parts of it, but they really avoided the zingers. They actively said, we're not going to cover this. And that's what the media's been doing for years now. And so you have to go to radio shows and podcasts and new media outlets and YouTube to find the real truth. You're not going to find it on CNN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's tokenism too. I think it's like we need to show that we have a sense of humor, so somebody can come on and lampoon us. We need to show that we are open to hearing from all sides. So we'll put Scott Jennings or another pundit or two on that have center right views. But I mean, they're not committed to like robust debate and, as you say, real journalism and stuff. They are still a house organ for the Beltway establishment, particularly the left.
Well, I mean, here's your perfect example. We've learned beyond any shadow of a doubt that President Biden was extremely compromised for the last 4 years. So where are the questions from journalists to Karine Jean-Pierre or anyone in that White House inner circle? Where is the journalism that's following up on the story that they missed for 4 years? You're not going to see it. It's like you mentioned, it's tokenism at its worst.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the year in movies in 2024. I know you wrote about it at your blog, HollywoodandToto.com, your website, and give us a gem or two that maybe we may have missed.
Well, it just came out a few weeks ago. A Complete Unknown is the new Bob Dylan biopic, and I have to say I'm bored of these musical extravaganzas. You get it's the first time the singer hears his or her song on the radio, and there's this, they're so cliched. I mean, they made a movie about it, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Dewey Cox, that's awesome.
I mean, that maybe should have ended the whole genre right then and there, but this is terrific. And, what I'd say, I'm not a huge Dylan fan, I have to say. I mean, I admire him, I respect him, I get why he's so consequential, but he is inscrutable to this day. And I think that's what the film leans into in a way. It's just an artist seeking to tell his story, seeking to sing his songs at a really important time in the culture, and it all just connected. And Timothée Chalamet just is sensational in lead role, so I recommend that one first and foremost.
And Timothée Chalamet is just so pretty to look at.
You know what they did, though? I mean, they basically recreated the Dylan look, the Dylan album covers, all the snapshots you've seen over the decades of what he looked like. And he's not a dead ringer for Dylan, but boy, the production design, the makeup, the hair, it captures everything just right. And of course, the movie itself is quite good as well.
Better or worse than Cate Blanchett as Bob Dylan?
I never saw that particular project, so I can't compare them. But
fair enough.
It seems like an unfair fight.
All right, what else? What else we got?
I know it's behind a paywall now, and I know it was in theaters for a while, but Am I Racist really was an excellent documentary. That's from the Daily Wire. It really did expose the people who have been pushing DEI. And, I think the best documentaries do intersect with the culture. And what we've seen over the last few weeks and months is DEI programs in a hasty retreat. And, is it cause and effect? Maybe it's just part of the zeitgeist that was, going on without the movie, but the movie itself was very, very funny, so I have to kind of give a lot of credit to that. And I'm not a movie musical person, but I thought Wicked was excellent. I just thought it everything
really?
You want in a movie of its kind. Just great vocal performances from the leads. It was funny. It had some nuance to it. It had some depth to the story. Obviously, the source material is quite good. We've all been enjoying that for years now, off and on Broadway. So I can't complain about Wicked. I think it's terrific. I think the Wicked press tour has been cringe on steroids, and I think we've seen that on social media. But you got to separate that from the real thing, the movie.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough after watching some clips of Ariana Grande and the what's her name? I'm blanking on the other actress's name, but pawing each other and breaking out into tears, and I mean it's just so absurd. But okay.
It is, and by the way, just a note to the media: never pair actors together if you want to interview them. They bond, they're silly, they kind of get quippy. It's not a good idea. So I think you should interview actors solo. I think you get much more out of them and much less ridiculous experiences like we saw on social.
That's actually a good point. I think you get that like with anybody in the sort of entertainment or quasi-entertainment business, with politicians like Walz and Kamala, with but really any with athletes, with actors or performers. It just becomes like one mash note to the other between the two of it. That's such a great insight. I never thought about it, but you're right. It's got to go solo.
And I don't blame the actors. They're just They're just there to answer some questions and kill the time. And listen, they're there to make movies, and this is just a weird side project that they have to do to promote. I mean, they have to be marketers as well. But when they're together, they're just going to be chummy, and that just yields nothing good.
Well, one film you wrote about that I missed and I want to check out now is The Brutalist. Tell me about that. Oh, did we lose?
By Adrian Brody.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Adrian Brody plays That's okay. Adrian Brody plays an architect. He's Jewish in the mid-1940s. He escapes the Holocaust, comes to America, starts his career. It is 3.5 hours long. There is an intermission. It feels like an epic like they used to make. And I understand the budget wasn't really huge, which I think is very impressive, but it's just a sprawling saga. The performances are excellent. Adrian Brody has won an Oscar. He might just win another one. He's spectacular in this role. He just has a lot to say about capitalism and entrepreneurism and just searching and yearning and going through lots of emotional crises. It's just a beautiful, well-constructed film. Again, it's a beast. Hit the loo before you check out The Brutalist and maybe just be aware of that. But I just found it old-fashioned in the best sense of the word.
Oh, interesting. I mean, Adrian Brody, I know he's a good actor, the pianist, right? He won the Oscar for, but boy, it's been, I can't think, maybe like Grand Budapest Hotel. I can't think of an Adrian Brody movie that was particularly good for a long time.
A lot of genre films, a lot of films that go, I guess straight to video is the old term, maybe straight to VOD now. But yeah, his career has been up and down, but all you need is one big film or one well-regarded film and you're back on top. I think that's going to do it for him, and good for him because it's just a tremendous performance. It's so fascinating. It's visually beautiful, and there's a lot to savor about the movie.
All right, more Adrian Brody, more Whitney Cummings in 2025, hopefully. Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast. Pick it up at Hollywood in Toto, TOTO, HollywoodInToto.com. Christian, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything, from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-289-6016. That's 800-289-6016. 800-289-6016.
Right now, with an important alert, home title fraud is one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes in the country. Criminals can make millions on your house without you even knowing it. Michael, you were one of those criminals?
Yeah, that's right. I was responsible for about $16 million in equity theft and title fraud.
Wow.
And to be honest, it was easy to do. It's just paperwork. So by the time you find out what's happening, the equity in your home is already gone.
So how do you keep your property and equity safe? For more, here's Action News reporter Ron Stevens.
Well, Monica, an in-depth investigation found there's actually just one company that prevents this type of crime from happening: Equity Protect. Equity Protect scans, monitors, alerts, and most importantly, protects you from any attempts to tamper with or steal your home equity and ownership 24 hours a day. Other companies merely monitor. Equity Protect stops the crime from happening. Find out if you're already a victim or take a free risk assessment today at equityprotect.com. That's equityprotect.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Charles Thomas sitting in for Amy J this morning. Charles, thank you as always. Great to start the new year with you.
Dan, thank you. Thank you and Amy for doing such a fantastic job. You guys are part of the reason that America is returning to its rightful place.
Well, we all do our little part as best we can.
And we all appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thanks again. Tomorrow, John Cass will sit in for Amy J, and then she'll be back next week, and I'll be off golfing. That's how it works. Now we turn it over to Mike Scott for the headlines.
CPD is increasing patrols near Chicago's Trump Tower in River North after the Las Vegas